the middle children of history, man. No purpose or place. We have no Great War, no Great Depression. Our Great War is a spiritual war.
Y'all gonna have to excuse me tonight. I've got a little bit of the COVID.
And the channel's blocked.
Thanks for having us.
It's so weird how the symptoms are different person to person. Like my kids, they all had like a spiked fever, and then like my wife has an earache, right? And I'm congested, and it feels like I've got cotton being pushed out of my head. You know.
Well, I mean, you live in Alabama.
Well, there is that too. Thankfully, I don't have any like hay allergies or anything. My boy does, man. We go to my property down the road, and I'll just leave the windows down, and we'll ride around in the fields in my truck. By the time we're back, my boy's eyes are all swollen shut. I'm like, oh man, we got to do something about that.
Every year, I get a sinus infection at least once a year down here in the Central Texas area.
Yeah,
never had a sinus infection up north until I moved down here. First time I got one, I thought I was dying. I really did. It was just the worst thing in the world. But yeah, it's no bueno.
Man cold. Yeah. It will get you.
It will. I said it to my wife earlier. I was like, look, you know, when women have babies, it's almost like you can come close to what it's like for us when we have a cold.
100%.
It's just so, it'll really tear you up.
For those of you who don't know, I'm sure everyone who's been on the channel before has seen Rick bear once or twice with us, but Rick is joining us tonight. He just started a pretty similar show to this on his own channel on a Rickcast, right, Rick?
That's correct. Yep, it's called the Council of St. Michael. A little bit of inspiration from you guys doing it. Kind of thinking about it for a while, but seeing you guys do, I'm like, all right, yeah, there's an audience for it, and I think the time is now that we need to get as much information out to his people from, there's 1,000 different Catholic apologetic channels. I'm pretty sure we can have 2 Catholic channels talking about like guns and cool stuff. So, there's no reason for any rivalry or anything like that. So it is an absolute pleasure to be here tonight. Thank you guys for the invite. Honored to be here.
Absolutely.
I do love how YouTube changed their firearm policy as soon as we started these 2 channels, though.
Any day that ends in Y, the firearm policy is up for debate on YouTube. It just depends on how they feel that day.
Good point.
It's awful. So
I was listening to a show the other day, and they were talking about that because the policies change so quickly, people don't know like what can we even talk about? Like what's going to get us shadow banned this time?
Right.
It's so hard to keep up, but it's done intentionally. Right. The reason that we still do it here is because this still has the furthest reach.
Yep.
Like whether we hate that it does, but I would rather do this on like, Gab or something else, X maybe. Right. But this still has the issue with Rumble is their interface is horrible.
God awful.
It's like using MS-DOS again. It's so bad.
Yeah. I'd love to support it. Especially if you stream from there, you have the opportunity to do ad reads if you have a certain number of people that watch and all these other kinds of. There's definitely, they try to get you to use it, and then you use it, and it's like, okay, I might as well be not.
Yeah.
So I had to.
They are getting better because I know on the app side it looks a whole lot better than it did. So hopefully in the future it's good enough, and hopefully the future has got enough reach that where it competes with YouTube. It's just right now we get so many people just on this show who just happenstance come across us, and they come in and they'll watch, which we wouldn't get on Rumble because it's pretty much a captured clientele over there.
The money. It's the money. Google has no problem pouring billions into this to lose money. They have it to burn. And Rumble is, even with the amount of money they tell that people, it's still light years behind what they're trying to do there.
Yep.
One announcement we do have is this will actually be the last time this show is on the main Avoiding Babylon YouTube channel. Over the next week, I will be making a separate channel for Guns and Rosaries. The reasons being, one, right now the algorithm on YouTube is a little weird, and new channels are getting a lot bigger reach than old channels that are shadow banned for whatever reason. Not saying Avoiding Babylon is shadow banned, but the views have been a little weird. So hopefully a new channel helps that. Two, because the firearm policy is so up in the air all the time, I wouldn't want some of our videos on this subject to get the whole channel taken down. So next week, next Monday, this will be on a separate Guns and Rosary channels. I will send that out and share that channel when it's available, but just so you all are aware of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
then-
then even tell like Rick Tim Pool was like, I started a separate Tim Pool channel and I upload the same videos. The new Tim Pool channel gets twice as many views as the old one.
Yeah.
And so if one of the big dogs is dealing with that, who knows what the rest of us are dealing with. So it's
100%.
it's a smart call on that part.
And that was one of the things I was concerned about when I approached Rob with this idea is I didn't want this to really inhibit what they do on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I was like, hey, we may need to eventually switch to others' own channel. That way, if like we get banned on our own channel, like it doesn't affect them. I've been very careful about a lot of the things I say on this channel specifically because of that.
Well,
just imagine if y'all had me unfiltered, it'd be crazy.
Well, the video we did on EDC, just showing our carry guns on camera. Now the policy is you have to prove you are at a range to show a firearm on YouTube. So that video could get the whole channel taken down theoretically.
Yep, absolutely. And I don't like locals, so that's not an
Should
option.
have told me that. I would have taken down the one behind me. Yeah, I gotta give me a heads up on that one. That's probably why my videos aren't getting much reach. But oops, sorry. It wasn't intentional. I promise.
No problem.
Like you can't show mag changes. You can't show any of that kind of stuff on this.
You can't show taking a gun apart. None of that.
Nope.
At all. And it's just,
which is funny because there's still videos about that all over the place.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and those are really just Damocles sword hanging over channels in case they ever want to get rid of them. Well, that was the reason.
Yeah.
Because you had all these, shows that went against the policy.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what happens when you're constantly shifting the goalposts. And, hopefully one day, maybe X is better than this for us to post to. Right now, X's user interface isn't very. Videos. Yeah, it's horrible for videos. So it's just really a non-starter for right now. Maybe that'll change. Who knows?
And I think having a separate channel will make it easier for anyone looking for firearm or, prepper related content. They're not going to necessarily search out a Catholic, a channel that's been doing Catholic stuff for 4 years.
Yeah. That's been the interesting, because I've been watching a lot of channels that I haven't watched in years lately, just kind of see like, what are they doing? And it's almost like a lot of these gun channels or prepper channels or whatever, self-reliance, homesteading, whatever it is, they're on like a 3-year cycle, right? Like every 3 years, they start rehashing the same topics, right? It's over and over and over. And I get that. I guess it's hard to keep going about the same things, right? Which is probably why it's good that, Rob, you and Anthony have done a lot of more like responding to cultural issues, which we do here as well. We've done a little bit. But especially these first dozen shows are trying to get y'all caught up in some of these topics that you may have never been exposed to before. Right. Like tonight, we're going to go over mutual assistance groups. Right. And that was not a thing 10 years ago. 10 years ago, it was all about the lone wolf, right? And being out on your own and, having to take care of things by yourself because, whatever, right? That's the anarcho-libertarian, fever dream. But, things like topics like that, y'all may not be exposed to, so y'all can start looking into these things. And a lot of what we'll go over tonight is a lot of wave tops, right? You can get a whole lot deeper into stuff and go out and search other channels. But there are some aspects that come from our faith that y'all are gonna have to be aware of on some of this stuff when y'all start looking for these things, right? Because we're all seeing the shape of the world right now, and we're probably going to be doing like a 4-front war here soon. and you're going to be on your own. And when you call 911 to help, they're not going to be able to come help because they're going to be involved in their own stuff. So
you have that, and also you have the fact that the most modern police departments, urban, we'll say, are still they've never recovered and will never recover from 2020 and the defund movement. There were stories from 2020 all the way up to today where I remember this one clear as day. When I was doing Catholic radio, there was a part of Pittsburgh where they put out a bulletin and they said, guess what? From about 12 to 6, 911 doesn't work. We don't have the we don't have the people to cover it. So you can call us, but nobody's going to answer the actual phone. And so that's has already happened. And the fact of the matter is, you know, police, and this is one of my favorite lines, police are not obligated to, you know, Cheney v. Winnebago, the Supreme Court decision in 89, they're not obligated to protect you. 14th Amendment states they don't have to get involved in private parties. They're literally there to take notes, do some chalk outlines, and maybe like, you know, put a tourniquet on you if they feel like they're up to it. Now, I always preface that by saying there are a lot of really good police officers that go above and beyond. They try to do their job, but when it comes down to it, they don't have to do anything.
Right.
And I think go ahead, Rob.
Well, I was just gonna say where I live, like right now, my little town, it's about 1,500 people. We have budget cuts coming up for the city this upcoming year that might make us reduce our police force down to one full-time officer. That's full-time, like 40 hours a week, not full-time all, 24 hours a day. So we will no longer have 24-hour coverage in my little, my little town. Sure, we have a county sheriff, obviously, but he's got they have a whole county to deal with. So the next nearest cop is going to be 25 minutes away at best if they're doing literally nothing else and are as close as possible. So yeah, I mean, depending on where you live, if you're out in the sticks, the cops might be half an hour away.
And we saw that this weekend. The cops aren't even protecting other cops in Chicago. I don't know if y'all saw that update where the feds went in and they got basically ambushed and surrounded on all sides. And the Chicago police were told not to respond and help them. Right? If cops won't even help other cops, they're not going to help us. Especially in your very blue urban areas.
What has happened is with the defund the movement, you got rid of all the good ones in a lot of places and you replace them with essentially gay race communists who they believe in the movement. They believe in that, all that kind of stuff. So they're not, the last thing they're going to do. It's almost like in Portland, Antifa and the the cops are hand in hand. So that's what you're going to be dealing with in those areas. So
it absolutely. For those of y'all that have heard me talk about it before, but Mike Shelby over at Forward Observer, he's been reporting on this stuff forever, right? And Portland is an occupied territory. Like if you're in Portland and you're carrying and you have to use it, you are going to jail, even if you're in the right. Right. So just
what's his name? What's his name? Nick Sorter, right? He defended himself through a punch and got arrested.
Yeah,
I mean, it's crazy.
That's the DAs. That's that whole thing, as you were saying, Adrian. That's what when I teach my LTC classes, I tell them, hey, if you're in Austin, if you're in San Antonio, if you're in Dallas, you're probably better off not drawing your weapon. You got to get out of there because they will drag you. Even if you have CCW safe or attorneys on retainer or any of those guys, you're going to get dragged. There's no possible way you're getting out of that one. So you got to be also got to be cautious of where you are in those situations.
Even here in Alabama, it's the same way, right? I did a concealed carry class last year with he's on the SWAT team in one of the cities here in Birmingham, and he was telling us like, hey, if you're in Jefferson County or I don't know what county Montgomery's in, but Montgomery just had that huge shooting this weekend too.
That's right.
And he's like, if you're there, he's like, if you can get out of there, do it. He's like, if you have to pull your weapon as a last resort because they will fry you. Right. And he sees this because he works as a city cop in the city. He's like, I don't even live in Jefferson County. He's like, I live in Shelby County, which is the county south of Jefferson County, which is very red. That's what you had to be aware of is your surrounding and your area of familiarity of what's going on around you. Because because our Latin mass is in the murder capital of Alabama, right? In fact, a couple of months ago, they had a baptism on a Saturday, and there was a shooting during the baptism about a block away. And as people were leaving the baptism, the body was still on the ground because the police hadn't responded 30 minutes later yet.
Wow.
Yeah, that's reality.
Yeah. So just be aware of where you're at, what the laws are where you're at, and just know that if you're in a very urban blue area, you got to be aware of what's going to happen.
So somebody said move to a red state in the chat. Even red state, he's in Alabama. I'm in Texas.
Yep.
You got to be careful, just county by county, by county. It just because of a red state, like whatever happened to Penny or Perry, whatever the guy is in Austin, it took him 4 years to get a pardon after they dragged him through the system, and that wasn't even guaranteed. So the old idea of just move to a red state is not a be all end all. You got to do your research on that, find out your sheriff, things like that, and maybe go from there.
Well, that's the thing. There's no such thing as a blue state. There are blue cities that rule states.
Yep.
Right. And in fact, in Illinois, most of Illinois is red, except for Chicago and Champaign and a couple of those other areas.
I mean, Minnesota's the same outside of twin cities.
They've got such a population density that they're able to make laws for the rest of the state that just mirror those values of those cities. So that you have to be aware of that. So the reason Alabama works the way it is because Birmingham's not that populated. We have a bunch of mid-sized cities in the state of Alabama, and they're mostly red, right? Because they're not too huge. But when you start getting really big, that's when they start to become very leftist, right? And they can take over areas. But you got other, areas like in Minnesota or St. Paul and Minneapolis basically rule the whole state. Such a high majority of people live in those two cities.
The 7-county metro area up here in Minnesota has more than half the population of the whole state. So,
yep.
My favorite stat to give people is, do you want to know where the largest concentrated number of votes for Trump came from in 2020 and I believe in 2024? And everybody's jaws drop when they tell them it's California. California, if you were actually just section out like the amount of votes, more than Texas, more than any red state, it's just that they don't have any control of any of the, any of the state, any things that matter.
We have a lot of folks moving down here from all over the country. And when I meet them, the first thing I tell them is, do not vote like you used to vote where you were at in the other state. You moved here for a reason, because we don't vote like that, right? So vote like we do. Otherwise, go back home. But as long as you want to vote like we do and you have the values we do, yeah, absolutely. Come on down. I'll show you the house down the street from me that's for sale right now on 28 acres.
Yeah, we have that problem. We have that problem massively.
The issue Texas has is the people who went to Arizona and it wasn't quite liberal enough for them yet, they went to Austin.
And now Austin's falling apart. Now Austin is absolutely falling apart. It is absolutely disgraceful. What is actually happening? Of course, all the city, Houston's actually worse, but it doesn't get the rep that Austin has, because Austin is just a giant trash pit, and it happens to be the capital. But Houston, the only way to go through Houston is with a couple of Humvees with 50 cows on top and go through as quickly as possible, because there's no reason to be there.
And I hear Dallas is like the H-1B capital of the country, right?
Oh, it's like mini Mumbai. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. McKinney, Frisco, all those places have been taken over by the H-1Bs. So there's all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've seen, looking at some of the other indicators of what's going around. I've seen a lot of houses staying on the market for a long time and not selling. Right. So what are some reasons for that? Well, one is rates are so high, right? People think that, they want to try and get that 2.5% again. That's never coming back, first of all. But second of all, they think, well, it could come back, so I'm not buying a house till then. Then the other side of it is you've got people trying to sell a house they've been trying to sell for the last 5 years, right? But it hasn't sold, so now they're locked into how much they think their house is worth, because houses were like theirs were being sold like that 2 years ago. But the other indicator I see is, I have a friend who owns a trucking company, and a rival trucking company of theirs just went out of business over the weekend after about a week because half his drivers got deported back to Mexico, right? Because they couldn't speak or read English, right? They got caught in these traps, these rest areas and such, and they got deported right there. And he had to send somebody out to get the truck, right? Because they took them from right there. And so you're seeing a lot of deportations and self-deportations. People who are like, well, I'm not going to stick around for this. I'm going to take what I've earned so far and go back to Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, wherever, right? So you're seeing a glutton of people who are leaving, and you're seeing a lot of houses staying for sale longer because of that. In Boston, they've seen the cost of rent has reduced by 40% because they don't have enough students coming in to rent them because they can't get through.
Yeah. All that 100%. And people in Texas, you actually had to pay to get a showing. And even if you paid to get a showing, it wasn't guaranteed that you were actually going to see the house because people were coming from California, just paying cash, putting all those houses up. And like you said, now they're all underwater. So those people have no idea. They kind of like it mirrors 2008 in a lot of ways where houses are $1 million in Arizona when the house is built for like 195. So they're not getting that back. I actually saw there's a development about 35 minutes away from me. And this is how I know the housing market's about to crash here in Texas. On one of the billboards, it said houses now take $40,000 off the asking price.
Imagine a year ago you bought a house in that development, and now they're selling the exact same house for $50,000 less than what you bought it for a year ago. Imagine how mad you.
Not to mention the house probably made like crap.
Right? Lego house, yeah.
A lot of these houses are. We had a house made by one of these national builders, and I sold it as soon as I found out they had like 4 class action lawsuits against them. Because one of the class action lawsuits is because a lot of their 2-story homes, the second story was built with such new wood, it was bowing into the first floor.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
I was like, we out of here. I'm selling this thing as soon as I can. I need to find a sucker to buy this thing because I'm not getting stuck with it.
Yeah, you know it's bad because if you actually go into the new developments wherever you are across the union, once a house is sold, like four pallets get dropped. This is the outside, this is the kitchen, this is the bedrooms, this is the wiring. And you know, you talk to electricians back even 10 years ago, hey, it's got to be great, all this new building you guys are doing. He goes, we don't work there. You know why? Because when you open up the pallet for the electrician, it's A and B. And you take A and you wire it through and then you connect it to B. Like they dumbed it down for the guys who can't speak English and for the entire illegal crews, that the skill that you would need when we were looking to buy a house here. I specifically told my wife, we're finding a house that was built in the 80s because at least I can guarantee that it's a little bit better. Like the walls are not particle board all the way around,
right?
You know, stuff like that. But these new houses, and I had one in Fort Worth, man, and so much stuff, so much. They had the tail light warranty after a year. They give you the 1-year warranty on it, and then day 161, everything breaks. Fuck, buddy.
Yep. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's get into the topic. We're like half an hour in already. All right, so tonight's topic is about mutual assistance groups, or you know, in the Marines we had fire teams and squads and stuff, right? And you know, I wanted to go over like how you start to build that and why you should build it, because I see a lot of guys. You know, it was the prevailing opinion 10 years ago. Hey, if something happens, if the proverbial feces hits the rotational device, then I'm going to put on my pack and we're going to get my hunting rifle, and me and the kids and the wife are all going out to the woods and we're going to live. Well, you and 300 million other people, right? And so now as the GWAT has kind of died down and those guys have come home and they're getting involved in this space a little bit more, we're getting a lot better understanding of what we need to do. And as we've seen in some situations, you can't be the only person. You need help, right? And then, so why should you set up a group, right? So like Rob said on the first show, I actually have notes. So we'll stay on track.
So weird for this channel. You have notes.
Well, don't tell Rob, but I just wrote him about an hour before I came on the show.
It's more prep
Off
than
the
I
top of my
do. I don't know what you're talking about there.
So let's go over some pros real quick of why you don't have a group, right? Or why you don't have some people you can depend on.
Because I
in
took
this
too much
situation, right?
Tylenol as a kid.
Those are the guys you want. What are you
The
talking
social
about?
anxiety.
You want
I'm
a
just saying
super
I don't get
soldier race?
along well with people.
Those are the ones
So,
that actually do what you say.
As most of y'all know, traveling with people in any sort of capacity, if it's especially it's more than one vehicle, or just traveling with your kids, is like herding cats.
Oh my god.
Right? Trying to just my wife, like following her in the car because she just like drives. She doesn't pay attention to lights or turns or nothing, and she'll just be gone. And she's got a little bit of a lead foot, right? So, and I always said to her, like, you gotta stop at the yellow lights. You can't go through the yellow lights. You gotta stop, whatever. But the big thing about being on your own is you're mobile. You can go wherever, whenever you need to, right? So when you incorporate other people into the fact, and you have to account for other people, it gets a little bit more cumbersome. All right. Another aspect, you don't need as much resources for one person than you do for 4 kids and a wife, or 4 kids and a wife and another family of 6, right? Or whatever it is. You don't need as much. You can get by on a lot. Like if it were me, I'd eat 1 meal a day if I was by myself, right? But I've got to feed my kids, so they got to eat more than once a day. And
You're not supposed to be talking people out of having a family here, Adrian.
Another aspect is you're flexible, right? If you're by yourself, you can move whenever you want. You can eat whatever you want. You can bed down wherever you want. I don't know if y'all have ever seen these channels of these guys who do what are they called? Urban hidden camping or something like that.
Oh yeah. Yep.
They'll camp out in culverts and stuff. You can do that when you're by yourself. But you got 4 kids, they're gonna be like, Dad, why is the raccoon in the tent with us?
Camping in a culvert doesn't seem like a plus, though, Adrian.
They try and see where they can camp and no one noticed them. Then my other thought about it is like, well, people just think you're homeless. If you're in an off ramp in the grass in the off ramp, they just think you're homeless. That's anybody could do that. Nobody's gonna bother you. And another pro is there's no fixed location, right? You're not tied down to an area. If you want to go from Alabama to Tennessee tomorrow, you can, right? There's nothing holding you back. Then we get into the cons. The biggest con is you can't pull security for 24 hours a day by yourself. It's impossible. You got to sleep. In fact, I've got at my place here, I've got the guys that I've had my group. They know because they all have suburban houses. I told them if something happens and something goes down, get all your food, all your firearms, and all your family, and come here, right? And we will set up. Because I can't hold this place by myself, and they can't hold their houses by themselves, and especially being in a suburban house, it's really hard to pull security when you've got 400 other people within half a mile of you,
right?
As well as some of the cons of being by yourself. If you can't do it, get it, or create it, you don't have it, right? And then you get into the really ethically gray area of what's stealing. What's self-defense? Is it self-defense if I'm stealing food? And they try and kill me. Things like that. And then you're unable to share load responsibilities, right? You can't, if you get too tired to carry something, you just can't give it to somebody else for them to carry for a while. If you need to dig a latrine to use the facilities in, you can't have somebody else pull security for you while you do it, right? You have to do everything on your own. And then the last one is loneliness will drive you insane. Being by yourself and on your own, one, makes you super skeptical, super wary of other people, but it also makes you lonely and you will go insane. As you see, if you ever read any of these stories of these guys who are in solitary confinement for a year at a time, after about 8 weeks, they're losing their mind with no contact with anybody else. Because some of these maximum security prisons, the guard's not even allowed to talk to you when he takes you out for your 1 hour a day exercise time, and that drives them even more insane that there's somebody there that they can't even talk to. So those are the pros and the cons. Did y'all have anything to add to that?
Yeah. Just kind of reinforcing a couple of points. You have fire watches, you have deterrents. A group will be better. A group will less likely be engaged with than a single person, right? If you are by yourself, you are what they effectively call a loot drop, because whatever you have will eventually, you will run into. A great example, if you've ever seen, is the book Eli, where you have those guys coming out, they just traveling out in packs, and they overwhelm you. So you want to make sure you have that. You can even break it down to things like specialized roles, where if you can find enough people who have specialized roles, you can find people that will do certain things. Maybe you can bring in somebody with an EMT or medical training, things like that. So everybody should know how to do at least basic first aid, but if you can find somebody that has a little bit more specialization, somebody who knows how to grow food a little bit better than everybody else, those things are really great. Also for defense weaponry, like I said, I'm trying to keep it friendly on the channel. So there are reasons why you would carry similar types. There's a reason why, if you're going to get a group together, it doesn't matter if you're all rocking M9s, G19s, or 320s. Everybody has that same mag.
Don't carry the 320s, guys.
I was just trying to be nice because I know there are some safe people.
I don't carry 320. 320 carries you.
Well, if you have the 320, you can it's like a grenade. You can kind of just toss it and run. But the fact,
I'm pretty sure IEDs are illegal.
But 320s are not. So the idea is everybody had the same capacity, everybody has the same ammo, everybody has the same mag, which everybody
uniformity can be good. Diversity can be good too, right? I would prefer uniformity. I'd rather us all have a 320 than one of us have a 320 and always scared of that one guy shooting us. Right?
So everybody,
yeah,
we know everybody's gonna get it at this.
It's like the old firing squads. Like they would line up 7 guys, and only one of them would actually have a bullet, and none of them would know that there's a bullet in the chamber.
Yeah,
so nobody knew which one actually shot him.
It's
same
like
thing with 320.
Lightning might
320. Who shot me?
Lightning might strike once.
Meme
It's not going to strike 4 times.
Yeah. So exactly. So you have that all the way up to, carbines, same things that way, and parts break, maybe interchange, things like that, and so forth. So uniformity, I'm a huge believer. I call it the rules of redundancy. Everybody has the same thing. It'll help out, and that's less stuff to carry in that regard. Food rationing, you covered that already. Resource pooling, you covered that already. Shared skills, knowledge, sustainability, flexibility, all that. No, it's not. No, there's no DEI in this situation. That is.
It isn't. It is your strength, Bobby. It is your strength.
But it doesn't matter if you guys can agree. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as y'all carry the same one, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
So, I mean, that's pretty much all those kinds of things that you'd want to do. Even like when you said division of labor, even emotional moral support. You were given that as well, because it's going to be the ultimate. Nobody's going to know what they're doing. All we're doing right now is theoretically talking about situations 99.9% of the population has never been through. Yep. So for them, it's going to be a huge shock to the system. And if you're going to, especially as Catholics, if you can make it a solidly Catholic group, that'll also share that burden out. So those are all really good points to make. It's really the crux of all of it, ensuring having more than one, because the lone wolf was very populated by movies and all that kind of things. But you're just going to be a loot drop in that regard. So not a great idea. Not a great idea at all. I think really the idea of the lone wolf came from the fact that there were so many people that were spread out because we're a transient union. People move all over the place. They're like, well, what happens if I have to bug out of, DFW, or I have to bug out of Austin? I'm the only one that can take care of my family. Well, then in that case, if you have a buddy 3 states over, you may have to do that. It's not optimal, but it's not an optimal situation in the first place. So you're going to have to work all these things out beforehand. And really, that's the big thing we talk about on the council, and it sounds like you guys talk about here, is actually working through the scenarios and actually having an actual plan. Because a lot of people's plans, I know Adrian and Rob, you've heard it. I got my gun. Awesome. Okay, what's the next one? And
Then what?
And what about a first aid? What about food? Water purification? What about any of that? What are you talking about? You know what? You just go that way, and I'll let you get
And as we talked about on the medical show last time, you're much more likely to use medical than you will ever use your firearm. They come up on a
100%.
car accident or a dog bite or something, right? So just having understanding of, yes, what is the MD-COA, the most dangerous course of action? What is the most likely course of action? ML-COA, right? Most likely is you're going to use it medical for a car accident. Most dangerous is you're going to get in a shootout with somebody as you're coming out of the Italian restaurant, right? Whatever it is. But
why the racism? Why the Italians?
I'm sorry. I was under the understanding that Italians are safe to be racist against.
Correct.
Is this not okay?
Being half Irish, being half Italian, I don't really care. So,
well,
we'll give it
Italians are Africans.
Africans.
So it's still acceptable. We're making fun of the white part, is what we're doing.
That's fine.
We're good. We're good. All right. So
everybody's LARPing after the Roman Empire, so that's okay.
Yeah. So before you ever think about a group and getting a group together or starting to organize a group, you got to get your family on board.
Yeah.
First of all, right? If your wife's not on board with why you're bringing in 55-gallon drums to start pumping a bunch of water into them and taking up half the space in the garage, or why you're putting crates of ammo underneath the bed, like if she's not on board with this stuff, right, you're gonna have a hard day, right? And the opposite too. If you're the wife, and your husband's not on board yet, hopefully you can get him on board and get him to realize that he needs to be the man and take the lead on this stuff. But that's a situation where you got to give them reasons to get on board, right? And sometimes that's, hey, down in Texas when they had the sleet storm come through and destroyed all the power panels and nobody had power, and they were in a freeze warning. People were freezing to death in Texas, right? Which was, with the rest of the country are like, Texas is a desert. Why are people freezing? Not realizing like, hey, Texas is pretty temperate. It's northern, farther north you get.
Yeah.
Right? Same thing with like Alabama. Like everybody thinks we're all racist in Alabama, and we are. Don't come here. But everybody has these understanding stereotypes. But things like that, show them examples of why we would need. Like we need this water because what if the power goes out? What about last week when they were doing work on the water lines and we didn't have water for 10 hours? No one could take a shower. Like, would have been nice to have some extra water, right? Or we had the tornado come through and, it knocked some trees down the road and we couldn't get to the store for a couple of days.
Yep.
Would have been nice to have some extra food,
We do
things
have
like that help get your family on board.
Do have a couple examples that have been prominent. Katrina's the easiest one to show people why all the stuff works to be on board with it. If you're stuck in that, because people think about water, it's like, no, that flood water has got everything in the world in it. So the water you thought was okay, it's got gas, it's got oil, it's got body parts, it's got all these kinds of things in there. So that water is no good. Food wise, most people have 7 days worth of food, and then if they're lucky, outside of that, your grocery store has about maybe 2 weeks worth of food. Those things will be cleaned out, and the last thing you want to do is be in the place where everybody else is at the same time. The goal of this is so you could technically bug in for that initial phase through that. And then you had Helene, another one up in North Carolina, where it was just devastated. And people have to realize even FEMA, which is a dirty word, I get it, but even FEMA tells you that you have to have 3 days worth of supplies. They advise you that because when you look at the way the federal emergency works, local, state, federal, and then they'll always request that first before they'll do these. Oh, we've issued a disaster declaration. That's great. FEMA's still going to take about a week to waddle in and going to start writing papers, and then it's got to go back. And so the first thing that the government is going to do as an organism is get the government back up and running. Oh, well, FEMA's here, and they're like, yeah, I ain't dealing with you right now because I got to get the government, the city, the town, whatever, back up and running. And then when that's running, we'll figure out what to do with you guys. And people you see it all the time. If you look at, where's the government? Where's the government? Where's my tax money going? Blah, blah, blah. Because it's really not up to, they don't really care.
Well, and with Helene, most of the help there was from local nonprofits.
Yep.
What y'all need to realize as well is FEMA has the authority to seize things from you to give out to people who may need it more. So you may have gathered everything you needed for your family to get by, and FEMA finds out, they can come take it from you and give it out to other people. Right? So you don't want the government involved in most cases, especially if you're properly prepared. But on top of that, like with PNW Guerrilla, he took like $50,000 worth of military surplus, which is like $1 million worth of surplus, and took it to North Carolina, and was because people still don't have houses, right? They still don't have anywhere to live. They don't have grocery stores to go to. Some places you still can't get to by road because the roads are still gone, right? And this has been over a year at this point. So the government is not the solution. You need to be able to do this stuff on your own. And if the government shows up, you need to be very wary of them.
Yeah, don't tell them anything.
No. Tell them nothing. Tell them nothing. All right, so let me refer to my notes. All right, so some determinations about when you first building a group, like what are some considerations you may have? And I'm bringing these up generically, right? These are not mine or may not be mine. These may not be anybody else's, but these are some things to think about, right? So specifically, like, do you want them to all be Catholic? Right? There is a benefit to that, right? You're all mostly on the same page when it comes to the faith.
Yeah.
Now, some of them may be very left Cath, right? And you may have to deal with some issues there. I'd rather have a Protestant than a left Cath, but that's a situation where you may need to consider it. Now, I may not have that luxury down here in Alabama. I'm surrounded by Baptists everywhere, right? So it may be a little bit more difficult for me to have that capability of having everybody on the same page when it comes to the faith. But I've got a lot of my neighbors around me who are Protestant, but they are very devout Protestants, and they are very good people. In fact, when we've had issues here, they've helped us out. In fact, my cows got out one time. We were at a festival. My cows got out. We're walking down the highway, and one of my neighbors went and got them and brought them into their pasture for us till we got home. Right. Whereas, I've been in neighborhoods where I couldn't even get somebody to help me put my trash cans away while I was on vacation, and I got ticketed by the HOA. Right. So, and those people were Catholic as well. So that didn't help at all there. Some other things, you may want to look for is, do they have complementary skills to you, or do they have skills that you don't have? Right? Can they butcher a pig?
Yeah.
Can they get power up and running in your house? Are they an electrician? Are they a welder? Are they a plumber? Do they know how to farm? Do they know how to use communications equipment? Can they do fabrications? Do they have a boat and you live near a lake? Right? Some of these things are considerations as well. And then another being proximity, like how close these people are to you. Right? Where I live, there are some other Catholics out here, but the people in my parish, I'm 45 minutes away from my parish. And then they're all spread to the winds anyway. Right? So I'm not very close to any of them. I'm probably 20 minutes from one and then 45 minutes from everybody else. Right? So proximity is not a luxury that I have. Loyalty is another thing you have to think about. How loyal are they to you? How loyal are you to them? Because if you can't trust them with your kids, I would not suggest building a group with them. Right? And then logistics. Do you have things other people need? Do other people have things that you need? Can you all share? These are some considerations for the type of people you start to look at to build your group. Right. And so did y'all have any other things I may have missed that y'all had in mind?
Well, I mean, you kind of touched on most of them. So like some of the questions I would have, especially being just really new to all this, is like, one, ideally, how many, people? Two, you brought up proximity, like how close should they be? How close is useful, basically, or how far away, at what point does it become not useful? Their distance to you, things like that. Three, how do you all communicate? How do you all plan? Do you have a set meeting place when something happens? And then how training together, whether it's firearm training, whether it's medical training, or even just like you said, sharing specialized skills with the others in the group, stuff like that. So those are, I guess, those are the questions that I've kind of rolling around in my head right now.
Yeah. Well, what you got, Rick?
So for just a couple of those things, we have to be careful being, for lack of a better term, on the right, because if you're going to do training with firearms, you're going to get noticed. Best way, a workaround for that is to try and find like a competitive shooting group, like there's some professional ones out there, and you all can join that. So you're like, I'm just competitive shooting, and then you guys can all build your skills up together that way. For basic first aid, you can all go to the Red Cross and do online courses there. It's not great, but at least it's an introduction to the basic things of recognizing shock, what to do with bleeds and things like that. So everybody has a baseline knowledge of that. And then, of course, you can all take other courses together or even separate. A bunch of different places will do that. Now, as far as the number, I'll throw this one out there, and then I'll let Adrian either correct me or agree with me on that one. You don't want many, but it's also depending. Is it going to be families? Now, if it's going to be like 10 single dudes, right? 10 just guys who are young that, then yeah, they can all take turns on watches and all these other kinds of things, because, I'll be the misogynist of the group. Your females aren't going to be great help for things like security and stuff like that. They'll do other roles and they'll be great at them.
Yeah.
But that's also how many roles do you want? How many roles you have to disperse in that regard. Now, redundancy is great. So there's really no fixed number, Rob. I would probably say as many as you could get, maybe 30 is a max number of people, because then you would probably have you'd have husbands, you'd have sons, older sons, things like that. But that's also going to count, as both of you were saying, who's in your area. You may not be able to get that many. You may get 10, and that's it. But I don't know. What do you think is a good cap number, Adrian?
So I'm always going to defer to my organizational skills in the Marines, right? So we have fire teams, which is 4, right? Then a squad is made up of 3 fire teams, and then a platoon is made up of 3 squads, right? It's rules of 3, and then a company is made up of 3 platoons, right? I think starting out, finding one good guy first, it should be the goal. Just find one. Find one other guy with a family, or one other guy who may be by himself. Be wary of anybody by themselves, especially when they're younger.
Yeah.
Because they haven't quite matured enough yet. And especially if they don't have any ties to your area, they could be a really loose cannon that you may not be able to account for. But finding one guy first, but then growing it to 4, and then staying there for a little bit. And then as y'all train together, whatever it is, you're getting together, and y'all are coming to your house one weekend to help, process chickens. The next weekend, you're going to help another guy put up some ceiling fans or whatever, right? As people see that and how close knit y'all are, and they find out what y'all are doing, they'll want to join in on it, right? And then you can start being selective, and you can start kind of like vetting people, like how serious are they about this? Because the last thing you want to do is bring somebody in and they know everything you have at your house, and who's in your house, and then your friend's house, and what's in their house, and how their house is laid out. And then they get rolled up for whatever reason by the police or Antifa or whoever, right? And now they know everything about you, and they could tell them about you, right? So you have to be
they're just an opportunist themselves.
Yeah. They're I don't need to prep because I'll just shoot you and take all your stuff, right?
Yeah. That guy's always the one you want to stay away from. That guy's always the first one you want to stay away from.
So as far as numbers, I mean, I wouldn't say there's a cap. You just have to trust everybody enough. Like I said, the biggest thing is if you can trust them with your kids, you can probably trust them.
So
but you got to get to that point where you can trust them with your kids.
So just to go back and forth on that. Yeah, I agree with you 100%. There is no cap, but also there's a certain point where you're not going to know everybody within the group as much as you'd want to if you expand out too far. So maybe there's a good idea of, I think, really just listen to both of you. It really is just find the guys and the families you can trust and kind of just stick with that and go from there. As you said, especially factor in desperation. because who seems like a solid group or a solid family or a solid whoever, when it's good, when you can all go to Whataburger after or whatever and hang out, it's gonna be a lot different when there's 3 cans of beans left.
Yeah.
The people you know in comfortable times will not be the same people under stress. So that's even like that vetting process you talked about. You could vet them till the cows come home, but you're also going to have to pay attention to the fact that, I know this guy is really good, but until we're all stress tested together, you can't really fake. You can't people try to simulate. I know the Marines and the military stress test really well, but civilians can't. We don't have an opportunity to really stress test that kind of stuff. So
sure. Well, and it's also the same line of thinking with the faith, right? Because you'll hear all these young guys like, I would die for my faith. If there was somebody here, I'd die for my brother. You can't get up before 10 a.m. in the morning. You're not dying for the faith. Like, you don't have enough discipline to not eat that 3 quarts of ice cream at night. You're not dying for the faith. Brother, you still watch anime cartoons. You're not dying for the faith, right? You have a malformed conscience, right? And it's just not going to happen. And I'll probably piss some people off in the chat, but that's fine. Like, you have to understand, like, if you don't have the discipline enough to deprive yourself of sleep, right? You're not dying for anything. Right. So as soon as someone offers you, hey, I'll make sure you have 8 hours, 9 hours of sleep every night, and it's comfy bed and a meal every day, or 2 meals every day, or 3 meals every day, like, you're going to give up everything for that person, because you can't deprive yourself of everything. You have to get used to now, especially now, getting used to fasting, depriving yourself of things. Put your phone. The hardest thing is put my phone down for me. Like, it is, because I have I'm FOMO, right? I feel like I'm being left out, or I feel like I'm not on the edge of all the information coming in if I don't have access to my phone. It's not that I want to say something first, it's that I want to know something as soon as it happens. Right. And that's the nature of a job I did in the Marines. Like, it's hard to get past that, but it is also a crutch for me. Right. And that's something I have to deal with. But, I've never had an issue depriving myself of sleep or food or anything else. But if I don't have that phone and I can't reach for it in my pocket, right, to find out what's going on, sometimes I feel a little itchy. Like, you got any more of that cell phone, man? And so I've got my own issues, but we all have to realize where we're at. And if you have a guy who may be spot on with tactics, maybe the best shooter, but he's got a drinking problem, you're going to have issues, right? You can't depend on a guy like that who can't get control of his vices, that alter his capability of rational thinking. Then you can't depend on a guy like that. I don't care how good of a shooter he is. Until he gets that under control, he's not reliable. Right. But all right, that's enough for me. What do you got, Rob?
So for me, like, I guess the difficulty I would run into doing this is I guess just how isolated I am kind of from community, right? For instance, the parish we go to is a 4-hour round trip drive away, and those people tend to have their own drives from the opposite direction even. So, it's hard to pull from that as a potential pool. And I don't know many good Catholics near me physically, so that makes that hard. So, like, and I'm not saying you have a solution or expect you to have a solution, but I just do, how do you go about finding someone, to trust, when you're separated like so many of us are from extended family, from like a good parish life, from a nearby community that we can trust.
Yeah. I think for some people, the only option is to move, right? You can't be on an island by yourself.
Yeah.
That's just not an option. But for some people, it's a matter of swallowing some pride and talking to people that they may have had been on the outs with, right? And mending some of those bridges. But finding people, and we'll go ahead and get into this. Like, where do we find people that are on the same level of thinking as we are, right?
Right. Because
Ri-
like,
ri-
how do I even bring up the subject with someone without seeming like a
Well,
nutcase?
so what you have to do is you have to look for topics and things that are tertiary to what you're trying to get to,
Mhm.
right? So like Rick was talking about earlier, like competitions, like USPSA, IDPA, any of these shooting competitions, get involved in one, right? And then you'll start to meet other people that are into shooting as well.
Mhm.
And most time when people are into shooting, they're into other things that you are looking for, right? Now, another reason to do that is a lot of Antifa are going to these shooting competitions now. So you can get a grasp on how good they are.
Yeah.
And some of them are really good. Right. So that you're able to keep an eye on what the potential enemy might have. Right. That's one thing. Anybody who has Catholic land movement near you, right? Get involved there. Even if you live in the suburbs, still get involved because you can do things in the suburbs that they help out with. You can raise bees in the suburbs, right?
Last suburbs, you can even do chickens now.
Some you can, right? Some people are great. Like I had an HOA that was no chickens, and I thought about sneaking them anyway. I didn't do it, and I'm glad I didn't because now that I have chickens, there's no way I would have been able to sneak them. They're way too loud. My neighbors are literally right on top of me. But Catholic land movement is a bunch of people who are going to be on the same page as you with a lot, right? I mean, they're going to be 90% in agreement with you on just about everything.
Mhm.
Right. Some other things, ham radio clubs, right? You got to watch out for some of the FUDs at the ham radio clubs, right?
They show up with a Kimber, then you need to stay away from them.
Yeah. But they're in, at least you can get information from them and learn knowledge on how to set up communications. 4-H clubs.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's true.
Have those around you. Those are going to be a lot of people that are on the same page. If you have your local extension office, we usually have meetings to teach topics and stuff. Go to those, and you'll learn other people are trying to learn the same things as you. What are some other things?
Around me, we have a lot of not a lot, but a fair number of homesteaders or little family farms. So I imagine they're of a similar mindset. That's probably why they have a homestead. There's a lot of people around here that hunt. So I know some of my buddies from work that hunt, like you said, and they're into firearms, at least in some capacity. They're they have some knowledge about nature, things like that. So
you can take shooting courses because everybody's who's taking the time to go to a shooting course probably wants to know a thing or two about guns, right? Medical courses, any type of TCCC, TECC, March, whatever stop the bleed course are usually going to be people who are on board, or at least they may bring somebody with them who is, right? Any type of shooting course, anything. It could be long range shooting. It could be a hunting club, like you said, getting access to a hunting club and just using that to hunt, but also getting to know guys as well. Because most hunters are very right leaning. Right?
There's
most.
There's a trap club that I shoot in that I'm sure that there'd be some good people in there too.
Yeah.
So real quick, if I can just jump in with places you can find, these are all amazing and perfect places to start. FEMA does run something called the Community Emergency Response Teams.
Yep.
And those are put on by fire departments, police departments, emergency management departments. And it's a federal program. So, they're available. All big cities will have them. Suburban areas will have them as well. And they teach, because their job supposedly is to go out and assist emergency management in scenarios. But that'll be a place where you will meet people from all over your area who share at least the mindset of preparing and being ready for an emergency scenario. And those they're free. Free out of stealing tax, you know what I'm saying? But there's no additional cost to you to do those things, and you get that kind of training. I was a member of the CERT team in Fort Worth, and they'll teach you how to clear disaster areas. They'll teach you all if you have no idea. If you've watched documentaries from disasters and you see all the markings on the door, they'll teach you what the markings on the door means, how they secure these areas. They'll teach you first aid. They'll do all these things. to help you, because the idea is, hey, we're not going to be able out there, you in your neighborhood, they'll give you a bag and all this stuff, you're going to be the help in that area. So if you find people from different areas and you just Google CERT near me, and it'll find a group for you. So that's another way. And you don't have to be like, hello, fellow prepper people that are ready for the apocalypse or any of these other, because they're there already. So a CERT team, if there was one near you, is a valuable resource that I would look up.
And most counties have a volunteer search and rescue team too.
Yeah,
Or even volunteer fire departments.
Yeah.
And there's private entities like Team Rubicon you can get involved with as well. They do a lot of help. And then there was the one down in North Carolina, Samaritans group, I think, who helped out a lot with Hurricane Helene. Right, just getting involved with any of these groups, and you'll get to know other people who are more than likely on the same level as you. So there's a lot of capabilities to find people. It's just a matter of you have to get out of your shell and talk to people, right? Like, I know your mom ate a lot of Tylenol when she was pregnant with you, but it's okay. You can still talk to people, right? Get over that, right? That's the biggest issue I have with one of my children is she is just scared to death to talk. We got her a landline phone, and she's scared to call people because someone else may answer other than the person she's calling, right? Like, well, you better get past this because this is going to be life. Right?
They don't get that. Like back in the day, you actually had to call the pizza delivery place and actually give them your address instead of like doing it on your phone and stuff. And the craziest thing is for Catholics, even if everything was running correctly, we should have a built-in network across the union. And I may get in trouble for this, but the Knights of Columbus should be that organization that we should all be able to access. But obviously, that's not going to be for you. Most of us don't. Most of us are Knights of Columbus organizations are not something that we would want to access.
Here comes Adrian's lecture now.
Yeah, so I know, and I was even thinking, I'm like, I shouldn't say
look, man, look.
Hey,
you want a better council?
You got them.
Then take it over and make it better. They are dying, almost literally.
Yeah,
literally dying
for someone else to take over. You can make it whatever you want. I swear that charter allows you to do just about anything, right? Especially if you're helping out other Catholics. That's really all they care about. And that's my biggest, we have a generations of men from Gen X down, right? It's not just Zoomers, not just Gen Alpha, who are afraid to get involved and do something. Right? That's why the term "you can just do things" has been so big, because they're like, it's almost like the internet has given them permission to live their life. Like, I can just do things. You mean I could just go to the DMV without taking my mom with me? Like, yeah, you can just do things, right? And so if you want a better night, and I'm not yelling at you, Rick. I'm just saying in general, because this is a huge
today, so it's okay.
This is a huge pet peeve for me. It's
for me too, which is why
the institution is
mentioning it.
The institution is there, right, and it is being led by very effeminate men, right. In most cases, in most councils, there are some councils out there that are phenomenal. If y'all don't know Robert Morgan on X, he has a council in St. Louis, and they are a phenomenal council. I know a number of men over there. But there's a lot of good councils out there. We actually just had our first St. Carlo Acutis council put out. Not my favorite, right? But whatever. But you can make it to whatever you want. You just have to take it over and do it. You only need 4 guys. That's all you need to take over a council. I don't care how big it is. You need a Grand Knight, you need a Deputy Grand Knight, Financial Secretary, and a Chancellor. That is it. And you get 4 guys in those positions, and y'all can do whatever you want. You can shape it however you want. And the more you do things, and the more you get involved in activities that the Knights of Columbus aren't known for, the more young men that will draw in to want to do it with you. Right? Like I started a skeet shooting competition once a year to raise money. And like we got more guys joining just for that competition than anything. Because you're like, you mean I can be a knight and shoot guns? Yeah, man. Like, what do you think the modern broadsword is? It's an AR rifle. Like,
I mean, I've had everything you said is the exact same thing. I've had problems with many, which I'm only a first degree knight for that reason. I went to like 3 meetings. I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. Because this is just not worth it for me. But
in my opinion, the Knights of Columbus, and again, this is just my opinion, so take it for what it's worth. My opinion, the Knights of Columbus primary responsibility should be the financial responsibility, right? Helping take care of widows and orphans. That's what they were founded for. That's why bless them and give, and he founded them, right? Secondly, it should be to catechize and protect the faithful of the church. That should be the secondary aspect, right? Once you take care of them financially, to catechize and protect the faithful of the church. Especially as we're getting to the point now where the priest can't do it because he's got 4,000 families in his mega church because 6 other churches have closed and they've combined into one church. And that priest has to serve 6,000 families now, right? When that gets to the point that, the men should be the ones catechizing, because that's the only way you're going to get younger men to take it seriously.
Agreed. Yeah. There's that. Yeah. That's the thing that frustrates me.
Soapbox.
Well, that's the thing that frustrates me. It's because it's there. It's there, and it could be an answer. It could be a solution to many problems. It's just, I think a lot of, what everything you said is 100%, but they go in with this, I'm going to change it. And then they go to the first meeting and they go, all right, let's talk about cleaning the highway. All right, we're done. Let's eat pizza and beer. And it's like, oh, that's what we're doing here. Mm-hmm. And it gets lost on that. So yeah, everything you said is correct. I've had similar things that when I see there's an attack at a church and I'm like, where are the Knights on this one? And then I get barraged by the Knights are doing such a good job. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, not at this place. So
but then there are instances like when we had the issue here in Alabama at the cathedral, the BLM riots were starting to come down. And so, I was getting a hold of the priest. I was like, hey, be ready. I'll come snatch you up real quick. Right. And then we had some other Knights who were like, hey, we'll stay overnight at the cathedral just to keep watch, just kind of scare some people away if we have to, but at least put the fire out as soon as it starts, right? If we have to, and that's what the Knights were doing and we've got a bunch of old men, like I'm the youngest guy normally by 20 years. Right. But I've brought in personally, probably 30 guys over the last 6 years that are 20 years younger than me. Right. And so it's just a matter, you have to create the change that you want to have at your council. Right. So, and the Knights of Columbus has the institutional power already established that you don't have to start from scratch on anything. Like was some of these other groups they're trying to start, like the Porters of St. Joseph. That's great, but those should be Knights because the Knights should already be involved with that. Right. And you're having to start from the ground up on everything. Why? When you can just take over an institution that's already established.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty much singing from the same hymnal on that one. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, now that I've beat y'all to death with Knights of Columbus.
Sorry, I didn't mean to bring up the sore spot. I just feel like when we're talking about groups, especially when Rob's like, well, where do we find these people? Right. Theoretically, it should be at the local, at the parish. That's why the parish should be the center of life. And that includes everything. It should be all of that. And, it's a great point you bring. If you're really upset with it and you really want to see it, well, then get in there and figure it out. Actually be a man and be uncomfortable watching the boomers do what they got to do for a little bit while you get things in place.
Yep.
We do have a interesting question here for the three of us.
Oof.
So for each of us, who are the top 3 Guntubers, dead or alive, you would want on your team in a end of the world sort of scenario?
Well, dead, there's only one that I would pick, but
yeah, I know. Yeah,
I think we all know who the dead refers to one specific.
Paul Harrell.
That's right. I think we all take Paul on that one.
Yeah.
Who are the others? He's not really a Guntuber, but Dave Canterbury. I don't know if y'all have seen any of his stuff, but he's like a bushcraft survivalist kind of guy.
Okay.
And he's never been invited on alone because they know he would win.
Yeah.
Like without a doubt. Because he does that for fun, right? So somebody like that would be great because he can do everything. He can do trapping and whatever. But as far as like if I wanted somebody that I can know that's been in the crap and can shoot, and some of y'all may not recognize this, but Sean Ryan, it would probably be my number one because he's been on both sides of the issue. Like he was a criminal for a long time, and he's had a conversion since then. But he knows his stuff when it comes to a gunfight.
Ian, Ian
Right.
would at least keep you entertained about any gun you'd ever want to know about during the end of the world. I don't know how useful it would be, but you'd have something to listen to.
No.
I think my second pick, I'd probably take Warrior Poet. I think Warrior Poet would be a pretty.
Man, I don't think I could put up with the preaching.
I don't mind. I don't mind. He can go preach while he's on patrol. I don't give him. I don't care about that. That's fine. And there are. I mean, you got it. But that goes back to that question of, if you're gonna, what things are you prepared to deal with to bring in a skill set that will be, the guy has he has his homestead. He has all these other kinds of things. He's been in the stuff. He knows how to shoot. So I'm good on that one. I know it's not a popular one, but I would take that one. Yeah, especially with his comments about Mama Mary. But you gotta do what you gotta do in that regard.
Do you want to listen to dispensationalism at the end of the world, though, man?
Whatever. You can, go over to your chickens and talk about this. That's what, dude. I could just sit there and I have an amazing ability to just zone out when people talk about stuff I don't care about. So yeah, I know it's not a popular pick, but I'll probably take him.
Well, I get it. I mean, tactically he's good. I would probably be the first person to shoot him because I can't deal with the dispensation.
Yeah,
some green on green crime there.
Yeah.
Oh. Henry Chan is good. I don't think so.
I mean, Lucas Bodkin, because you need someone to wear all the skinny jeans at the end of the world.
I was about to say, everybody's going to give nonsense about Warrior Pope, but you think Lucas? He can't carry anything. Because you ain't got to feed him very much. He's going to fall right over.
You ain't got to feed him at all, pretty much.
Does the guy I put in the thumbnail, rooftop Korean count?
Would he count? Of course.
Yeah, does he count as a Guntuber?
Yeah, the book out, I guess. I mean,
he's a lot more hand-to-hand fighting lately.
Is he?
Have you seen him out in California fighting the Antifa guys? Did you see the video? A video came out like a month ago. There's an Antifa protest, and they started getting in a fight with some of the right-wing guys over there. And you just see him come up with I don't know what he had in his hand, but he laid this Antifa guy out. And all you saw was a glimpse real quick of his face of the camera, and it turned away. But he is such a recognizable face. Now I don't know many Koreans, but I know that one.
Yeah, I'd be fine. He would obviously be somebody that you would take. But if we're sticking within the gun tube sphere, if it's sticking to the question. The third one will probably be probably Mr. Guns and Gear, probably be my third. If we're gonna do just like strictly the gun tuber space, but,
I mean, he'd have every gun you need.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Knows how to, and from what I know, I think he'd know how to at least maintenance them on, perform maintenance and work on them. So
I'd maybe take Honest Outlaw just because he's from Iowa and that's pretty similar to Minnesota. So I feel like he'd be able to, I'd get along with him.
Yeah.
He was going to be my backup choice. I was settling between him and Mr. Guns and Gear, but Mr. Guns and Gear is both of those guys are solid.
Yeah.
Well, Rob only likes him because he calls it a hot dish, not a casserole.
Well, right.
So first of all, dispensationalism. Now we're not naming the food correctly.
You need to have the same values, right? If they're going to be on your team, same moral values. He can't call it a casserole.
Now I feel like we're splitting hairs in the apocalypse. So, we went from the beginning like, hey, find a good group of guys. If you got to deal with them, you got to deal with them too. I'm shooting this SOB because he doesn't say the food the way I like it. So
I'll tell you what,
pretty quickly in this regard.
One absolute that will get you kicked out of a group. If I see you wearing tighty whities,
skinny jeans,
you have made some horrible decisions in your life and you are no longer welcome.
So what you're saying is you will make them strip before you accept them in your group.
Look, eventually you're going to see somebody's going to take a shower or something. Eventually you're going to see it.
Typical Marine.
And I see those banana hammocks going on with those tighty whities. You got to go. Give them 3 MREs and put him outside the wire.
I think y'all need to be taking notes about Adrian's prepping group. There's a lot of stuff. For a guy that's like, hey, if you're a man of good moral conscience, you're good. There's a lot of prerequisites you're gonna have to jump through on this one. Not that I have to worry about any of them. I'm just saying for future reference. Just You know,
Look, I gotta keep y'all on your toes. You never know what to expect.
That or he's gonna give them wedgies when they first show up. All right,
Here's
gonna get the
some
wedgie
swirlies.
test to see what you have there.
We're gonna do the gallon of milk challenge, and if you can't make it, you're not in the group.
Well,
I'm
yeah.
dead.
Knowing
I'll
you
be-
though, you'll make it be raw milk.
No.
I had a young Marine when I was in Okinawa who was convinced he could do the gallon of milk challenge. Right? I was like, man, I've got $100 that you can't drink a gallon of milk. I was like, I'll even let you drink skim milk. You can't drink a gallon of milk and keep it down for an hour. He's like, oh, I can do it. By the way, this guy's last name was Sergeant, right? So he's gonna have a real hard time when he ever actually made it to Sergeant.
Sergeant.
Sergeant. And so anyway, so he starts drinking, he's chugging it, right? He gets like 3/4 of it down in like 3 minutes. It's gone. I was like, and I was kind of like, oh no, this is not looking good. But it takes him 40 minutes to get the rest of that gallon down in about minute 50. Because for those of y'all that don't know what the gallon of milk challenge is, you drink a gallon of milk and keep it down for an hour. The reason you can't do it is because milk has so much base and your stomach has so much stomach acid that it can't balance out. So your body gets rid of it.
Yeah.
Right? So it's physically impossible to do.
Yep.
And so at 50, man, he painted that basketball court with the whole gallon. It was coming out of his nose. And it was horrible. But
It's kind of like in Charlotte. I don't know if you were there that night, Rick. When
Well, remember, I went to
the
bed
milk
early.
and-
'Cause I go to bed. I went to bed early before all y'all, so I didn't keep up with the antics that you guys were. All I know is when I walked in to get to the buffet in the morning, half of the guys that you went out with were strewn across the buffet area like it was the beaches of Normandy at that point. I'm sitting there eating waffle. One guy's just like, "Don't chew so loud." And I'm going, "Oh, well, we got to be a mass in 30 minutes, but I don't know what you're doing." But I don't know, Rob. I know you guys were getting some stuff, and that's when I checked out.
well, let's just say Adrian and I saw a man
a
chase
grown man.
a bottle of bourbon with a half gallon of chocolate milk. And it ended exactly how you would expect.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. No, I can only imagine.
Who did we end up throwing on the grenade for that guy to get them to help take care of him? I don't remember who that was.
Was it land warfare guy on Twitter?
Was it?
Oh yeah,
It was-
Lamport-
I don't
Lamport
know.
guy, he's a pretty good.
Some
dude.
poor schmuck got thrown on that grenade and had to take care of that guy and get him back up to his room.
Make
He's
sure
a
he
good sport
lived.
about it. He's a good sport about it the next day, though, man. I'd party with him again.
Who, Tennessee or the guy who took care of him?
Well, both of them, really.
Okay, fair.
Yeah, I'm not taking care of them. I need somebody else to do that. I've had my kids. I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
Fair.
no, Nope.
This is awesome, right? So I tell you some things that have worked for us on getting more young men involved. One, do a holy hour once a quarter, and then afterwards have bourbon, cigars, social afterwards. Okay, guys will show up in droves just for that, right? Because a lot of men lack other men that they can be men around.
Yeah.
Right. So they'll gravitate towards that. Another thing is get involved in things around the parish where people see you do it, and it's things that men are normally known for, like fixing things. Right. If the parish needs things fixed, have the knights be the ones that are doing it, because other men will see that, and then you offer, hey, if anybody wants to come help, you don't have to be a knight. You can come help, and if you don't know how to do it, you can learn, and I'll show you how to do it when we do it. Right. Guys will gravitate to it just for that because their dads didn't teach them anything. Right? The boomers were horrible about passing on knowledge, and when they pass away, I don't think we're prepared for how fast things are going to fall apart.
Mm-hmm.
And then another thing is be very involved in the pro-life cause. The Knights are already super involved. Be even more involved. Be militantly involved. Right? Everyone show up for the pro-life march. Show up in your, if you're a fourth degree in your fourth degree, or show up in a Knights of Columbus shirt. Have flags of all types. Right? When you're doing it, those things I've seen gain more younger men than anything. Right.
There's one other thing. When you do the Tootsie Roll drive, make sure the smocks you wear are the old ones that still say help retarded children.
Oh, yeah.
Because the Zoomers will just find that hilarious.
Good luck on getting that approved.
Well, that's
Just
why you
don't
got to
tell
take over the council, right? So you can get it approved.
Just don't tell
Yeah.
them. That's all.
Yep.
But somebody asked about books, like books that they can grab. Where There Is No Doctor is a great book to have for medical stuff. It's essentially a book for third world countries and how to deal with it there. And a great book that is by Varg Freeborn, Violence of the Mind, Training and Preparation for Extreme Violence is another book that I would recommend because it goes into some stuff. It goes into some stuff that I would recommend. Those are two books I would start off with.
I would also advise Joe Dilio's books, the Tactical Wisdom series. They are phenomenal books. They literally take you from couch to militia.
He runs with a buddy of his too that does urban and suburban planning and warfare. There's that guy on X that promotes those books. I don't know the guy off the top. If you follow me on X, I usually retweet a bunch of his stuff. Those are good books to get.
Yeah, those are good. And then if you want to get into communications, the Guerrilla's Guide to Baofengs by NC Scout. You can go to brushbeater.com and buy it there. So I mean, these are all good. I think Joe Dilio's books will be the best as a starting point for a lot of people because there's some stuff in there I don't know. Right. Because there's some, like, I don't do everything in the Marine Corps. Like, I did a lot of it, but not everything. So there's still some stuff in there I needed some brushing up on, or some things that, because I haven't done it for 12 years now. I've been out for 12 years. There's a lot of stuff that's just gone. Like, I don't remember it anymore. And reading that stuff again, like, oh yeah, I forgot we did this. Yeah, okay. Like bounding and Overwatch and patrolling.
So jumping on that, I think that's something that if you're getting into this for the first time, folks, you have to understand that these are all diminishing skills once you learn them. So whatever it is, you got to train and practice with them, shooting, first aid, radios, whatever the case may be, just so you're up to date on it. Because just the prepper mindset is, I have this stuff, and then they'll buy a generator and they will never run the generator.
Yeah. And
then when the time comes to use the generator, the seals and everything are they're not set, and all these other kinds of things. So whatever gear, whatever training you have, stay up to date on it, because it'll all just fly out of your head if you're not staying on top of it.
Yep. 100%. This is preposterous.
No.
Plus, aren't there usually council auxiliaries anyways?
There's some have auxiliaries, but if you don't want men to show up, then let women be in.
Yeah.
That's the surefire way. Why do you think, as soon as you let girl altar servers in, all the boys go away?
100% every time.
Yep. Yeah. I got another easy way to do it.
Y'all thought I was done with the notes. I'm not done with the notes.
You're not done with the notes.
I got notes on top of notes. All right. So structure of a group. How do we structure it? One, you can only have one leader. Okay. There is no council of democracy when it comes to these things. You need one person who's responsible for all the decisions, at least the final say. Okay. Secondly, especially in the Marine Corps, 90% of the Marine Corps is to support the 10% who are shooters. Okay. Most people in the Marine Corps are not trigger pullers, right? They are guys supporting the trigger pullers. So you may know people who, are not physically able, but they know how to can, right? Or they know a bunch of people. So their networking is great. They can find out and get something for you that you may need, right? These people are of immense value, right? These are people probably a little bit more valuable than any of your trigger pullers. Trigger pullers a dime a dozen. I can teach anybody how to shoot, right? But I can't teach people how to properly can, because then you got to deal with botulism and other things, right? But when you're establishing your group and you're structuring the group, just keep in mind that most of the group is going to be support, and it needs to be. And you need a few guys who are able to carry that firearm on a daily basis, no matter what. And then everybody else needs to know how to use them anyway as well. But you only need a few guys, especially at the beginning. Skills are going to be much more desirable than tertiary skills, like, you know, we talked about earlier, welding and electrician and plumbing and farming and whatever, right? Those are going to be much more desirable because you're going to need those a whole lot more than you will somebody, especially now at this point, than somebody who can carry a gun. One often overlooked aspect, and then I'll let y'all jump in, is intel. Anybody can learn how to be the intel guy, right? It doesn't require a lot. It just requires diligence, right? You just have to be able to do it for a certain amount of time every day to check up on things. Okay. Mike Shelby wrote a book called The Area Study Guide. You can get that. He also has one. It's called SHTF Intelligence. I think they're all found on his website, Gray Zone Intel. I think Gray Zone the Warlord, whatever it is. I'll look it up again. But these are books that you can learn how to do it. There are classes he's put up on YouTube you can find to do it as well. But if you do not understand your area and who are the actors in your area and what are the critical infrastructure of your area, then you're blind on everything, right? If you don't know who, like Mike likes to call the Leroy Jenkins gang, is involved in your area, right? And you're not able to discern like what that tagging is, or you don't know that there's a power substation 2 miles down the road from you. If that thing gets shot with 30-06, all it takes is about 6 rounds to put that thing out of commission, right? And then you're out of power. If you don't know where these things are and you don't know how to properly account for them, the fog of war starts at your front door instead of being further out, right? So those are some things that you need to get away from, the mindset that everyone has to be a CQB trained Navy SEAL Ranger sniper, right? You're much more preferred to have guys who have other skills than guys that you can just shoot.
Yeah, that's that diversity we were talking about early on when you were talking about certain skill sets. Everybody needs to have. Also, we're talking about high stress situations. The more defined a role a person has that they can kind of identify with and give them a purpose, the better their morale will be going through that as well. So making sure everybody has that purpose and making sure that they are valuable to your group will ensure that they are staying engaged with the whole thing. So it's everything that you said. It's just really making sure that they have that value of purpose, so that way they can, you know, the last thing anybody wants to be in these situations, they want to feel like they're contributing to the actual scenario and to the group and to the cause. So, you know, that's going to be incumbent on the leaders, the people, you know, the people at the top, making sure that everybody does have a role and that everybody's skills are being used. And one thing I'm sure Aiden knows about this is, you know, making sure you have a main role and then you learn somebody else's as a backup. So you have, if something happens to them, then you can kind of move between. And also, when you have those people working together, you're also fostering relationships and you're growing together as a unit as well. So that's really the biggest thing I can add to that.
Well, it's the old Marine Corps saying, misery breeds company, right? You will never grow closer to someone than when you're both out in the rain on a field X and just drowning in the rain and you can't get out from it, and you still have to get the mission done, whatever it is. Still got to dig that trench, or you still got to get that cow out of the pasture, or you got to, you know, put that post in for the whatever it is, right? When you deal with adversity with other people, you grow in bonds with them a whole lot closer than you ever will with your family, right? Especially if you're around them long enough and the misery is deep enough, right? That's why, what is it in Shakespeare? What is it? Man, trying to remember the saying and now I forgot. The coof has got me, guys. The coof got me.
From which Shakespeare work?
Oh, blood of brothers born in battle is thicker than the water of the womb. Right. That's what, blood is thicker than water. It's just been like truncated down. That's the full quote. Right. The men that you are with and you suffer with, you're going to be much closer to even your brothers and sisters because they've been through those things with you and they know what it's like. That's why for a lot of vets, it's hard to come back from, war, because we come back and like we just got through a situation where I was, having to dodge IEDs on the road and being shot at every day. And then I come home and the biggest worry most people have is what the price of gas is. Like it's hard for us to really relate to people because the things that are stressful for most people is a nothing to us. Like what gas is $3 a gallon? At least you're not getting shot at, right? Or so what you can't go out to eat today and you got to eat ramen noodles. At least you don't have to worry about your buddy getting blown in half from an IED, right? So and that's what it's hard for guys to come back and transition back to civilian life, and that's why you see so many guys committing suicide, right? And so many guys taking their own life, 22 a day or whatever it is, right? And I've seen it higher, I've seen it lower, but it's because they don't know how to they don't have the support network to come back to, because come back and their family has no idea how to relate to them anymore because they've gone through something that has only been in the books they've read, and they don't, and their family doesn't know how to relate to them anymore.
Yep, 100%.
Do you suggest a group do an inventory both of skills and material and things like that?
The more nitty, if you've got an accountant that can take over clerical work, right?
That's me.
They're going to have y'all on such a higher grade than everyone else. Because if he can like, hey, this guy's got, this amount of food and this kind of firearms and these kind of skills, and it complements, this other guy, whatever. If you can keep an inventory of that stuff and keep a track of it. And sometimes like, you're not going to want somebody to know like, hey, I've actually got 5 years of food, not 3 years of food. Right. You might want to keep some of those things close to the vest because you never know. But yeah, having an Excel, I don't know if I do an Excel sheet. I'll probably put it on some paper, but I wouldn't put it on Google. I wouldn't put it on Google Docs. I can tell you that.
You can't get it on the computer when that world ends. Yeah.
Yeah. That's like when guys are like, yeah, you can download all these books and put them on Kindle. Like, what if the power goes out and you can't get power for a while? Now, that Kindle will last about 2 weeks, but if power's out for 3, like you're gonna have a hard time.
But you can always get the cell battery chargers. You can always stock up on
solar.
Those.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can always get those solar cell backup. Like Patriots, those guys always sell that kind of stuff. But yes, it's better, more physical things you can have, the better.
But just keep in mind, we may have to block the sun to fight against the Tesla droids. Okay.
When that situation happens, I'll deal with it. That is one of
that
those.
Point we're giving up, guys.
Yeah. Look, I filed that one under. I'll cross that bridge when I get to that one.
I am anti-clanker.
When Mr. Burns puts out the sun, we'll figure out what happens going forward on that one. But yeah, of course you want to inventory everything. I mean, so that way, what do we need more of, or what do we need less of? Because sometimes people will, when they prep, they overbuy certain things, thinking they're going to need that, and then it's like, well, you didn't need 700. Let's say solar battery chargers. You need 700 of those. You could have put your money probably towards MREs or maybe some bandages or something else like that. So yes, obviously, good idea.
Why you have 5,000 rounds of British 303? I don't know, but you don't need it.
You never know. You never know what happens.
There's a guy I used to follow back in before COVID hit, and he was talking about how he put toilet paper on auto subscribe on Amazon, and he forgot to turn it off, and he just kept getting toilet paper over like every week. He had like 500 rolls of toilet paper. He's like, what am I going to do? And this is like in the toilet paper shortage of 2020, he's like, what am I going to do with all this toilet paper? I was like, you're not going to need to buy toilet paper for about 10 years. That's what. But just like imagine putting that on the inventory sheet. 500 rolls of triple ply.
Oh, he went and got the good stuff.
Yeah. Look,
well, you can't cheap out on some things.
You don't want to wipe with sandpaper.
You can permit yourself some luxuries in the apocalypse. If you can stock up early enough, you can permit yourself some luxury.
Yes.
Also, they go for great bargaining at that point.
Yeah.
I got
Yep.
3-ply, buddy. What do you want? You know, it's like
I just use old sheets. We're good.
use
They
the
don't make
tidy
them
whities you
sticky.
get from everybody else. That's what you do.
I kick them out of the group, but I keep the tidy whities.
Yeah, that's right. I got a job for you.
Put them in the bag. All right, last thing, and this is the biggest thing I see, especially online. Well, how do we keep the feds from getting in our group? Why do you care if feds are in your group? You're not doing anything illegal. Just don't do anything illegal. If someone comes to you and tries to get you to cut some inches off of a shotgun and sell it to them, do not do it.
If they want
Okay.
to kidnap the governor of Michigan, no.
Do not do it.
Just no.
Just don't do anything illegal, and it won't matter if the feds are in your group, right? Hey, if somebody comes to you like, hey man, can you take this brace off this rifle and put this stock on for me? I just can't do it. My hands are tied. I'm making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Don't do it. Just don't do it.
Look right into the body camera and tell them that is completely illegal, my friend John
Sure.
Doe. And I would never do such a thing. How dare you ask me to do such a thing? I am a law-abiding citizen, and then give them a wink.
If someone comes to you and says, hey, I know where the building is in West Virginia where they keep all the 4473s, and it'd be really easy to burn this thing down.
Then
not
take
do
one
it.
for the team and just go do it, guys. Please.
We'll start a GoFundMe for you if you take care of that.
If someone comes to you and says, I have $7,000, if you just tweet this about the older brothers, you're like, just once.
Lie 'em.
I need the money first. I need the money first before anything happens.
I would say it
Offshore.
depends. Are Barrett rifles on sale that week or not?
But another aspect is like vet who you got coming in your group, right? Even if you have a buddy who wants to bring a friend along, like be very wary of what you show any new people that are coming,
Mhm.
right? Even if you're doing some things that like you're putting that brace into your shoulder during the time when you couldn't do it, right? Like I wouldn't have anybody new around when you do that, right? But whatever it is, just vet who you have. If you want to keep layers of access, you can. Right. So if anybody new coming into the group, if they need to come to like some cookouts with y'all first, for y'all to vet this guy out first before they ever do some training with you, that's a good idea. You could do that. Or they've got to go through a background check, right, before they ever come do any training with you. You could do that too.
Or
Right.
if you need an initiation ritual where they do something illegal first.
That's right.
Perfect.
That's right.
Make sure you get on video.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's actually a really good idea keeping, that goes to your leadership principle, right?
Yeah.
Leadership talks about that stuff. Hey, we're just out here doing first aid stuff. Hey, we're out here just showing how to, butcher a chicken. There's nothing, like you said, there's nothing illegal about that. Just going to a shooting competition. Nothing illegal about that. Any of that stuff that you'll be nervous about, just don't tell those people until they earn it. They may never earn it.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's just some people who just aren't good for the group. Be okay to let somebody go. Because especially if they're a headache, right? Just let them go. Like, hey man, you're not allowed, you're not welcome here anymore. I don't want to babysit while I'm here. Right. And be a man and tell them to their face, right? Don't do it passive aggressively.
But I'm from Minnesota.
You better figure out how to tell that person that it's a casserole, not a hot dish.
Send them a text.
Well, Adrian, I got some bad news.
Well, this is awkward.
I got Anthony'd.
Yeah, I mean that's you have to it goes back to leadership, right? If you can't make those difficult decisions about people in your group when it's comfortable, you're not going to be able to rely on you in a leadership scenario to make the tough, like actual real tough calls. So you want the burden of leadership. It's a burden for a reason.
How do you choose a leader for the group?
I'll tell you the two people, if you have access to them, who should be at the top of your list. Anybody who served as an NCO in any type of military, in a combat role, we'll say, right? And anybody who's a paramedic, because they are used to having to make hard decisions on the fly, right? Anybody who's a paramedic that works 911 or who's a paramedic and has to work some type of ICU transport, they are consistently having to make hard decisions. And sometimes it's, hey, I'm going to have to cut your finger off to save your arm type of thing, right? Or I'd rather you be alive and paralyzed than dead and can walk, right? There's some situations where that comes up. So paramedics are used to those decisions and making those decisions. And then anybody's an NCO. Now, outside of that, if you don't have access to those, you're going to have to find somebody who has good prudence and judgment and who is willing to be wrong, right? Because it's better for you to make a decision quickly with all the information you have and be wrong than to wait too long and make a good decision, right? Because then you're biting yourself when you don't need to. So
yeah,
outside of that, it really comes down to a judgment call on who you think has the best leadership capabilities. But if you have somebody with either of those two skills, they'll be the first people I'd look at.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Are we talking police officer or military officer? Because I'm going to say no to both of them, right? Because in military officers, you can't get lost without LT, right? And two, most police officers, have you seen the body cam videos?
Yeah,
it's not great.
The crazy thing is most, we have a saying at the range, the guys we fear the most on the public range or we're teaching or in the LTC class are military and law enforcement. Simply because they don't follow directions well. There's a general ease that I'm not comfortable with around firearms with them because they've been around it so much. They think they don't need to follow certain directions of protocol. So, and also like Adrian said, a lot of them, he's like, I was in the military for 25 years. What'd you do? I was a cook. Well, okay, that's great, but I don't think that means you're going to be the guy who's going to lead the charge here. So, you can cook stuff. Great. Go ahead and do that, but you're not, and they'll try to, and that's another, I don't mean to go off here, but that could be something to, if you're vetting somebody like, well, I was in the military, they might try to come in and commandeer and try to run things a way that you may not be comfortable with because of their quote unquote military experience. And you're like, well,
Did y'all ever hear that group, the Appalachian Rangers?
No.
So there was a group in the Appalachians. I don't know. I think they're in like South Carolina and up into North Carolina. But there was an issue where the guy who started that ended up ceding control to somebody else who's a little bit more outspoken and extroverted and such. And they were doing some great training. They had a lot of good stuff on Instagram, like a lot of good stuff. And then it comes to find out that the guy who took it over was grooming some of his own guys as a private military. And their goal was if things went bad, he was just going to be a warlord and start killing everybody and taking everybody's stuff with his group of like 12 guys. Right. And that got found. I don't know how that got found out, but I remember it got pushed out for, I think they had him on wiretap and some other things when it got released. But you got to be very careful of some of these guys. Again, feds can take over a group too, right? If you got a guy leading the group and all of a sudden he wants to make his own ammonium nitrate, and start doing some stuff with it, you should probably leave that group. I would not be involved with that whatsoever.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, let's go through some of these questions. You want to pull them up for us, Rob?
Sure. In a difficult case, how would you guys reestablish the spiritual life of the group? Try to find a priest for the group that would be willing to help aid with help with sacraments.
It's so hard to find a priest. Like, one, priests are already super busy. Most of them are anyway. And two, finding a priest who would actually be on board with a lot of this stuff for a lot of people is going to be very difficult because the amount of effeminate priests we have out there who are very concerned about outward appearances about things a lot of times. Like, that's why you have a lot of these parishes that are scared to have a security team because they're afraid to be liable in case something happens. They'd rather you all die than have a team there that can protect y'all, right? That because they're afraid of getting sued. But in my opinion, establishing a prayer life with the group, right? Like you start with a prayer every time. Like I run a men's group here out of our parish, and the first thing we do is pray the rosary, right? So, and it's been established since then. That's the first thing we do every time, and it's really set the tone for the group. But having a group prayer life every time y'all get together, when you have meals together, and y'all don't be afraid to talk about the faith, even if some of them are Protestant, right? Some people just need to be told the wrong, right? So that would be my opinion.
There's been a couple of parishes that have rejected I've had knights wanting me to come and talk to their parishes that have been rejected by priests. So kind of following what Adrian said, you're finding the good ones and the ones that they're going to be, they're like parking space. They're going to get sapped up real quick. They're already part of groups or training. Maybe a cop-out goes back to that leadership. Your leadership structure needs to be, that's got to be part of your plan in place. How are you going to institute the prayer life for the group? Because once again, if you are in leadership, everybody's going to be looking at you. They're going to be looking at you for defense, food, and spiritual life as well. Like, running a nightly rosary or morning prayer, have a good Bible. Make sure you can do the Bible readings every morning. There's ways you can do it. We have lessons in Catholicism from all these situations. The Japanese got the sacraments for 1,000 years. And yet they were able to keep that life thriving in Japan. I mean, you have the Chinese right now that are the underground, that they're dealing with stuff like that right now. So I know we want to be like, we're going to get this priest. And he's like, yeah, probably not. Probably not. You once again, as a father, and Rob and Adrian know that they have authority in their homes, to be the priest, prophet, and guess what? You're going to have to be the priest, prophet, and king for your group. And that's, once again, the leadership falls on you. And then within your smaller circles, you're going to have to, lead it in that group. So don't, and I get it. You want to farm out, for lack of a better term. We'll just get a priest and do that. Well, that's like you saying, I'm just going to find a car and drive somewhere if I need to. You're putting things into you're not accounting for that in a realistic way. And I don't want to be a jerk in that sense, but you're kind of throwing it up to a theoretical that it's a variable you cannot control. And now all right, we're going to get this priest. And it happens, priest isn't there. Now everybody's going to go, what do we do now? Because we had counted on, we're going to get this guy. Well, we have a backup, or we have this. This is what we're going to do. It's layers of redundancy.
Bishop Schneider in his books, has good examples of what the Catholic communities in the Soviet Union did. As far as a prayer life and sacramental life and thing like that, when they didn't have priests and had to do stuff underground. So those are his books in general are just great to read. But even for that specific purpose, there's good stuff out there.
Well, who wrote the book Priest, Prophet, King?
Dr.
Dilling?
Yeah.
D something.
Dingling, something like that. Yeah.
I just remember him being on Church Militant, right? And this is back to like when Church Militant was thought to be just like the Fox News of the Catholic Church. And he was on there, and I thought that was a weird cat, man.
I met him once.
Was he weird in person too?
We had him speak at an event, and he showed up late, and he was like sweaty, and he went like 30 minutes over, and he wouldn't leave the stage. He's a weird dude. So,
but that book is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Which one? Because there's multiple.
Hold on, I'll find it.
Because Barron wrote one with that title.
No. Let's hold on, I'll find it.
R. Albert Mohler Jr.
No. Let's see.
Dillsaver. Dr.
Dillsaver. Yes, there it is.
Yep. His book is officially called The 3 Marks of Manhood: How to Be a Priest, Prophet, and King of Your Family.
Yes.
Yeah, I met that guy. He was a weird cat.
Yeah.
He was a weird cat. I ain't gonna lie about that. But his book is, like you said, the book is
good.
Phenomenal. He may be whatever.
Yeah.
He was divinely inspired when he wrote the book.
Well, and keep in mind, like some of the holiest people are weird to us because we're so broken. Right? We are, that's why growing up, everybody's like, well, don't hang out with the homeschool kids. They're socially inept and they're weird. No, they were just innocent and we were debauched, right?
Yeah,
Like that's the
100%.
reason we didn't mesh well with the homeschool kids because they were what we should have been.
The only other question I can really see is what is the shelf life of MREs?
Well, it depends. Like how long is it out in the sun? Because in Afghanistan, they didn't care. Like I ate some that were like 5 years out in the sun, and I'm pretty sure that's why I lost a bunch of weight.
It depends on the type too, because the new First Strike ones I think are like 5 years
Well,
shelf stable after inspection.
I think average
date.
is like 3 years.
Yeah.
Right. Depending on where you keep it and with climate controlled and everything. But if you keep it like down here in the South where it shifts, hot to cold so often, I would say 3 years at most. But by year 2, you need to be eating them on your camping trips.
And is it by production date or inspection date? I think it's inspection date, right?
I would go by inspection date, yeah. There's a lot of them out there. They're super cheap right now.
That's another thing. I hate to jump in. You're in a Trump slump right now. It happened in the first Trump administration. Ammo is ridiculous right now. I know some people say Benelli's free shipping on all ammo, like no matter how much. MREs, 4 Patriots, My Patriot Supply, all that kind of stuff. That stuff's available. They have all that kind of stuff. Right now is a very good time. I know, I say that everybody's suffering, money's doesn't go as far, but the stuff is out there and the stuff is reasonably priced.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, buy as much ammo as you can right now. Now keep in mind, if it was made between 2020 and 2022, be a little careful with it because the quality control was pretty poor during those couple of years. But anything after 2023 should be fine. But yeah, buy as much of it as you can. Like I was showing in the Telegram group, you can buy a conversion kit for an AR rifle to fire 22 long rifle out of it. And I do that now you can't don't do it suppressed because it doesn't have enough gas to action the bolt. Right. But, I shoot 22 and it's like 5 cents a round. Now you buy 1,000 rounds for $50, right? It was shooting all day, every day. 20 or 9mm, like at most 20 cents a round right now. So you're getting 1,000 rounds with free shipping for like $200 plus tax. That's amazing, right? 5.56, 300 blackout. Whatever you're buying, it's super cheap right now. Buy it now. Because if things ramp up in the next couple of years, like, as far as the Catholic faith goes, like my next nearest target I'm worried about is like April, May of 2029, right? Because that's the 100-year anniversary of when the consecration of Russia should have been done, right? And I'm of the opinion it's not been done yet because I'm still waiting for that period of peace, right? If this is a period of peace, I've been sold a bill of goods. But that's my next. I'm like, well, what happens in 100 years? Like, yes, the Sacred Heart wasn't exactly 100 years. It was like 100 years in a week, right? But it was still pretty close.
Plus 20, that lines up pretty well with, the end of the 28 election cycle.
Yep.
Which could see a lot of issues. What was the website, Rick, to buy?
I can say because I don't think it'll post. BERLELI.com, Borelli. Yeah. Free shipping on everything. And the ammo right now is just dirt cheap there. Like wherever, I just became certified as an AR-15 instructor. And I got 800 rounds for $350. Now it was Winchester white box. I get it, but it was still pretty inexpensive to acquire. So
I've seen 55 grain for like 40 cents a round. So $400 for 1,000 rounds.
Yep.
Nice. Free shipping on a lot of this stuff. So
yeah,
it's super cheap right now. Buy as much of it as you can.
As
we talked about in previous shows, like how much should you have? As much as you can buy. Right. But if you want a minimum, I would have at least 500 rounds in reserve and 500 rounds you constantly train with. That's what
I actually would have. I think I go 1,000 in reserve and then actively train with 5. So
Yeah, yeah, I
but
would agree too.
that's just
I would
different.
agree too. It's just if for people who already have a hard time buying a gun because it's too expensive, right? And not being able to justify that kind of purchase because it's either that or they pay the power bill.
I
Right?
get it. I get it. That's what I'm saying.
So like as long as you've got 500 rounds will last you a while.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're going to because I only shoot 50 rounds a week. That's all I shoot. Right. If I'm shooting more than 50 rounds, I'm wasting my time. I'm mag dumping at that point. Right. But if I'm going to the range and I'm working on skills, I'm really only shooting about 50 rounds a week. And then there are some days, some range days, I will shoot 300-400 rounds because I've got the time to do it. But if I got an hour, I'm shooting 50 rounds. Right?
So we're also, I think, we're this is inside baseball at this point for the folks, but I'm talking about like 1,000 of the actual defensive stuff that I would run in a scenario, not actual training stuff.
Yeah, but like on 5.56, 55 grain ammo becomes duty ammo out of a 20-inch barrel, right? So if you want to turn that cheap training ammo into actual duty ammo, shoot it out of a 20-inch barrel, then it'll punch through anything. But to your point, yes, I agree. Like but you're buying training ammo for like $1.50 a round, or I'm sorry,
Defensive
actual duty ammo for like $1.50 a round. It's a hard ass for a lot of people.
I agree.
That's a hard ass for me, but I've got 2 mags of it right now. And then everything else is, FMJ, shooting some ball ammo and everything.
And that's it's 100. That's another point you want to bring up is, you were talking about budgets earlier. That's something you want to do right now. Set your budget. So if you need to only buy a box a week or a month, slowly build up 20 rounds at a time. It may not seem great, but if you accumulate, especially as they with the cheap prices, I know for like Fort Scott, I know it's just as an example, you can get a subscription service to them. You can pick up, I want
or ammo squared.
Yeah, exactly. I just use them as an example, but there's tons of them where you can put yourself on a subscription service and you're just getting it and you're stockpiling it as well. I know Paul asked, is there a specific ammo brand for ARs? I don't think there's anything specific.
That you'd avoid? What would you avoid?
Winchester white box. But some pistols are very finicky with ammo, especially defensive ammo. So
especially the smaller pistols.
Exactly. Right? So you're gonna
my Glocks hate Blazer.
Yeah,
and I don't know why, but Blazer shoots out of everything else I have.
So unfortunately, Paul, I hate to say it, you're gonna have to try some different boxes, just to figure out. Because I know people that'll buy 1,000 rounds of something, and then it won't work in your gun, and it's like, well, great. So it's kind of you just have to try it with different ammo. So that's.
Have you guys seen if 7.62 by 39 is any more available than it has been the last couple of years?
Because the import ban is still on. Until they lift that import ban, you're like, there's no point in having the reason everybody bought AKs back in the day is one, you could buy one for like $200 and you could buy 1,000 rounds of ammo for like $100.
Yeah.
Right. Because it was all Eastern Bloc stuff. Well, because of the import ban, now it's just as expensive as 5.56, and 5.56 has better terminal ballistics than the 7.62. So why would you shoot that? Unless you're rich and you just like want to flaunt your money. But
I would also say, as far as back to the compatibility argument, you're better off with 5.56 being more compatible, mini 14s, ARs, things like that, than being stuck with a 7.6, that commie ammo, and having to deal with it that way. Then again, it's personal preference. I know people that want to run it. My whole thing at the end of the day is you run what you want to run. Just be aware of the trade-offs you'll make with them and all the other kinds of things that you fall into. But run what you want to run. Folks,
just make sure it runs.
Yeah, that's really Please do that. Please do.
Especially with carry ammo, right? Like I've tried everything from Hornady Critical Duty to HST, Spear Gold Dot to G9 external hollow points, and it all runs fine in all of my firearms. But some runs better than others.
Yep.
Like my G9 external hollow points, like I'm hitting headshots at like 75 meters on a handgun, right? Out of my Shadow Compact. Right. But I throw the HST in there, and I'm lucky to hit the man-sized target at 50 yards. Right? It's great from like 20 yards up. It's just so your gun will run some things better than others. So just try a few.
Yeah.
Just throw $100 down, buy 3 different boxes of something, and try those out.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, it's going to be better for you in the long run. It really is in that regard.
All right, we out of questions.
Yep. There was one I saw. It was best place best place to get MREs.
Amazon.
Yeah.
Like you'll have it in like 3 days, and you're gonna find the best price there, and they'll give you a refund if it comes up cheaper. Like I know some people don't want to go to Amazon because it's shaking hands with the devil. I get that, but if you're worried about your money, right, then and you don't have a lot, go there. Or you can go to, if you have a military surplus near you, they may have some. That way you don't have to wait on it being delivered. But places like Sportsman's Guide has it.
Mm-hmm.
ODGG has it.
Yeah.
You may not get the best price there, but you're at least not buying from Amazon. So
I've had good luck on eBay. A lot of it from, I think, Ozark Outdoors or something on eBay. I've gotten a lot from. So
yeah, just shop. If you find, speaking of Mr. Gunzigiro back in the day, if you sign up for his email list, he'll always drop stuff. He just searches all over the place, and he'll give you an email list of randomly. He'll be like, 1,000 MREs are on sale for like 39 cents. And you're like, I didn't know where that was, but thank you for looking for me.
We're following him on Twitter too. He
does that too. Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Him and Iraq veteran 88 or whatever his name. Yeah. Not the 88 you think of.
Yeah. Well, now
although he's kind of leaning that way now.
Yeah, I was gonna say he kind of is now.
He's kind of transitioned into his name. It's like when you meet a guy and like when he's young, his name's Bill. You're like, boy, you're 5 years old. Why are you named Bill? And then later on when he's 25, like, that's why your name is Bill. I get it now. You grew into that name. He has grown into his handle. Yeah, I'd say.
If you're comfortable with that, yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Some people go ahead.
I was gonna say like you're if you're shooting out of like a 9-10 inch barrel, you're gonna get much better ballistics with it, right? Than you will have a handgun, but why not? I mean, the whole purpose of having a carbine is to be able to get longer distance. Like an MP5 shoots 9mm.
Yep,
right. So you're gonna hit 100 yards is really gonna be your max.
Yeah.
At most, right? But I would even do like 50 yards. But if you're wanting to shoot out past 100 yards and you're wanting to have the capability of and silence of a 9, I would go with 300 blackout.
We all know the AR has very little recoil. It's very manageable. A lot of people like that, but even for people that are very recoil sensitive, carbines are a great excuse. Carbines are great if you want to do the 9mm. If you want to let's say you're on that budget, and if I have the 9mm carbine, I can just buy one type of ammo, and then I can just stack 9, and that way I can consolidate my resources and build up to a specific thing without having to get 2 separate ones. Some guys, they like it if they were. That was a big thing with the bug out guys. Like I carry 1 round, so that way I don't have to carry as much. Also, these are all things you have to consider. But I'm a huge proponent of carbines. I think carbines are fantastic, especially as truck guns, things like that. So there's a lot of different uses for them. So, yep.
Get that Kel-Tec Sub 2000, whatever it is. And I think it folds in on itself. Throw that thing in a pocket.
I have the Smith & Wesson FPC in 10mm.
Yeah,
it works. Yep. Some people will say no to pistol caliber carbines, but it's really what you want to. I always tell people run what you want to run. You don't want to run it. You're gonna have to run it in that situation, so you got to be comfortable with it. And don't worry. No offense. I don't know who you are.
And first of all, when you go shooting, you should have fun.
Yeah.
Don't let anybody else dictate to you what you like to shoot.
It's okay to have guns that are just cool and fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you want to show with that dragon breath out of the shotgun, do it.
Yeah. Cal-Tec exists to make weird guns that nobody would ever actually use in real life, but look like wicked awesome.
Their 22 pistol, the Kel-Tec P17, is a top-notch gun. Like it's like $160. I throw a suppressor on that thing, and you never hear it all day, every day. And I've never had a failure on it. I've shot thousands of rounds out of that thing. and it eats everything. So sometimes Caltech puts out some good stuff. I'd buy a high point too,
Me
because
too.
if you after 7 rounds you're out, you can beat them to death with it.
Also makes a great hammer, so you can put in
That's right.
hammer in the tents.
That's right.
So
And the thing with high points, man, they're reliable. They're ugly and they're heavy, but they're reliable. They will shoot.
I love High Point because they at least serve everybody, right? They give everybody an opportunity to have a firearm. You know, everybody. Your right to keep and bear arms shouldn't be dictated by your price range.
Yeah,
You see,
I like
they
that
come around with the suppressor for like $250.
I love them.
I loved it when they leaned into it and named one of their guns the Yeet Cannon.
The Yeet Cannon.
I was like, man,
gotta have
I can get on board with
self-awareness.
a company like that.
Yep, you have enough self awareness for stuff like that.
They're coming out with an AR, aren't they?
Yeah.
Well,
So is Glock.
you got
Yeah.
you got to give Caltech credit because they do the stuff. They actually force the gun industry to innovate in certain extent because they come out with the shotgun, the bullpup shotgun, and everybody's like, "That's dumb," and then like 5 years later, everybody else does it. So it's just you got to give them credit where that is. They're the old joke about the white train and then figuring out what kind of playing scatterboard on the wall. Let's make a 9mm that's a bullpup that folds. Yes.
Well, they're the whole reason that 5.7 even still exists.
Yep.
Because nobody's buying a P90. Let's be honest.
I've thought about it.
Unless they make an FRT for it, there ain't no reason I buy it.
I had a guy qualify with a Smith & Wesson 5.7 the other day.
Really?
Yeah. Everybody in the range said that. He's like 5.7. But his group, he shot a 250 and his group was right like that.
I
It was a
bet.
nice flat round. I mean, it was perfect to shoot with, but don't use that one, folks. If any, I will say don't buy 5.7. It's just you will go broke.
Yeah, it is super.
The apocalypse is going to happen. It's going to be like, just take my stuff because if I shoot this, I'm going to be, I can't shoot my gun. So,
If you could only pick one rifle caliber, would it be 308 or 5.56? In an end of the world sort of situation.
I'm gonna let you go first on this one, Rick. I'm interested to see which one you pick.
I'll go with the standard answer. I'll go 5.56. I think it's more versatile in that regard. I have no problem with either one, but if I was the standard person, I think the 5.56 would be my choice for that. And this is another thing that I'll throw out there is the weight of the rifle that you're going to be carrying if you're going to be lugging it around for long periods of time. Yes, slings help, but if you're going to be 5.56, a little bit
Not
lighter.
to mention the ammo, weight of the
ammo is going to be a little bit lighter too. So like I said, I don't care what you run. If you want to run one, if you gave me the choice, I would say 5.56.
I think it's going to depend on where you are. For me, in the woods of Minnesota, we don't have long shooting lanes, so I don't need 1,000 yard, rifle to shoot 1,000 yards. I'm going to only get a couple hundred yards at most. The biggest animal we have here is moose, but you're not probably going to be hunting moose. So a 5.56 will usually take down a white-tailed deer, something like that. And like Rick was saying, for a typical loadout, you're going to get 70 rounds more ammo out of 5.56, than you will out of 308. So if you don't need 1,000 yards and you don't need to put down an elk, you probably don't need 308, in my opinion.
Yeah. The whole reason I would choose 5.56 is because the ammo capacity. You can carry a whole lot more weight wise. If y'all don't follow Dirty Civilian or watch their stuff, you should. They put out a really good one on the comparison between World War II loadout to today's loadout, and the amount of ammo, because they were shooting the M1 Garand, which was 30-06, and they were carrying like 80 rounds plus 8 in the rifle, right? Because that's all they could carry. They were having to stuff it everywhere else, but it was super heavy. When Eugene Stoner invented the AR-15, the Armalite 15, he he had to do it based on what the requirements of the government. And that's where the 5.56 was born from, was he basically developed that round, or at least maximized it, right? So you can carry a whole lot more ammo with 5.56, and especially if you get into the higher grain stuff. Like my go-to AR is a 12-inch barrel, and I shoot 69 grain out of it, and I'm hitting 500, 600 yards out of it. No problem. Man-sized target every single time. Now, I'm not hitting a quarter, right? But I'll hit a man-sized target all day, every day out of a 12-inch with 5.56. And I can carry, my chest rig is 6 mags on the chest rig, 1 in the rifle, 1 on the belt, right? That's a lot of ammo. The equivalent would be like 5 mags of 308. On top of that, if you've never fired a 308 more than 60 rounds in a row, the first time you do it will be the last time. That thing will beat you up.
Yeah.
Right. And to look at anybody who does any type of battle rifle competitions, and they've got their shoulder is bruised by the end of the day, and they're only shooting 100 rounds. Right. And some guys are fatter than others, so they're not going to bruise as easy. Right. So, but still, like a 308 battle rifle will beat you up. It's just not fun to shoot, man. Long distance stuff, probably single shot every 30 seconds or so, maybe. But if you're mag dumping into a dude, like that 308 is going to tear you up. So that would be the reason I would choose 5.56.
Yeah.
I don't know if we got anything else, guys.
We got this one.
Oh yeah.
If you're in Minnesota, it'd be dogs.
Why?
What do you mean, why?
Actually, it'd be the cats. They need them all. It'd be the cats, then the dogs, but first the cats, then the dogs. Maybe mine. Honestly,
nationwide,
go ahead.
Nationwide, it would be your domestic. It would be your cats and your dogs.
Yeah,
because they're going to be the easiest ones caught. Deer, like we have a lot of deer right now because we don't have as many hunters as we did 35 years ago, right? But deer are super smart, and they will avoid you like the plague. And they're really easy. Dogs are trusting. Cats are a little less trusting, but they proliferate pretty easy. Those are the first ones gone.
In areas where we see a decline or collapse of society, you do see packs of wild dogs that become endemic. So you're right. They would disappear as domestic animals.
Yeah.
But I think in many areas, you probably see wild dogs make a comeback. And probably start interbreeding with coyotes and wolves and things like that.
If y'all ever listen to Selko and his story, wild dogs were an issue. And mostly because a lot of the dogs were breeding with, other coyotes and things like that as well. But they got to a point where they started to learn to avoid people after a certain period of time too. And then they started running around in packs. I have it now out in the country. Like for whatever reason, people love to drive out here and just drop their dog off.
Yeah.
And then they drive off. And then, so now I've got issues with dogs attacking my chickens and stuff. So there's issues around, and then feral hogs. It's not so bad here in Alabama yet. It's a lot worse in Georgia and way worse in Texas. But feral hogs you don't want to eat a male boar feral hog. They've been in so many fights. They've got so many cysts in their meat that it'll kill you.
Do you think I guess which population do you think would crater first? Do you think humans would last long enough to, because if you have a lot more humans hunting animals than you do now, right? If it becomes a necessity, they could really diminish the population of game animals. Or at the same time, if the human population craters first, then game animals become a lot more available, to anyone remaining.
Yeah.
So I guess, I always play around in my head, like where I'm at, where we have a fairly low population compared to animals. Like, do I think which do I think would disappear first? And I'm not sure. I think where I'm at, I think the game animals would hold on longer than the humans, but I'm not sure.
Woo.
That's a good question in that regard. I think it depends on really population by population centers. I actually think you would find a situation where urban centers areas would crater just
Mhm.
because of that, and then you'd see within a 3 to 5 year period that those areas being dominated by game animals because it would be a place where there would be lack of predators, rich food supplies, things like that. As far as, and of course, as you guys both stated, they would stay away from human populations. Human populations have to go farther out to actually acquire these animals, because the numbers people run in these scenarios that we're talking about, you're looking at within 6 months, the amount of people on medications, the amount of people that are actually not physically fit, the people that can't, that are calorie heavy, that won't be able to sustain their calorie heavy diets and so forth. Conservative estimates, within a year, 50% of the population is either dying or gone. Yeah. So especially urban centers where it's fight, food, all these kinds of things, they will eat each other up.
Mhm.
Whoever tries to exfil out of those areas, they'll run into all these other kinds of things. So long term, of course, animals will probably they will come back to probably greater populations.
You've got entire YouTube channels now of guys who do urban hunting. They go to like parks and stuff in cities because the deer are so populous just in these cities as well.
Yep.
But to Rick's point, like just keep in mind how many stories come out when there's a big storm, a winter storm comes through, and a guy goes up to get all the snow off his roof and dies of a heart attack because that's the most activity he's done in 6 months, right? This is all over the place. How many people are on diabetic medications, whether they're on some type of A1C inhibitor or some sort, or they're on insulin itself? These people are going to die super fast. People on ventilators in hospitals, right, who are being supported by 10 times the amount of people just keep them alive. People who are on SSRIs, people aren't going to put up with their BS anymore, and they're just going to kill them, right? And they're going to be the first people who are going to be violent in that situation. So you're going to see the conservative estimate right now, according to the EMP study done back in the 90s with Newt Gingrich and William Fortune, was 6 weeks without power, 90% of the United States is dead.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's conservative estimates. I think it'll be worse than that.
That was in the 90s.
Yeah.
We're a lot more dependent on stuff today than we were then.
More dependent. Yeah. I mean, everything's got a computer chip in it. I had to register my fridge earlier to turn the alarm off because I changed the filter on it. Right? Like, we are so dependent on so much stupid stuff. It's insane. But yeah, the animals outlast us, but the people who survive all this stuff are going to be apex predators. They're going to know everything, how to survive in an urban environment, and as well as how to kill and field dress a deer and butcher it there, right? Like, it's going to be people who are going to gain a whole bunch of skills on this stuff just through necessity.
Yeah, exactly. I think a lot of people dream of it, but a lot of people fantasize about it, but they don't want to actually do it. They want to do like the hunting thing. They want to hunt like the zombies and stuff like that with no little recourse for any of that kind of violence. But they don't want to talk about the day-to-day operations and the actual survivability. And really, it just comes back to the mental. No matter how physically fit people are, if they can't handle the mental aspect of it, then they'll just fold.
Yep.
Yeah. I think this is especially over 40, you need to be shocking your central nervous system every other day. Like, lift heavy stuff, especially after 40 years old. I've got a myriad of issues from my time in the Corps, bad knees, bad back, and all that. And it's a struggle to get up Monday, Wednesday, Friday and go to the gym and lift heavy stuff. It just hurts. Like right now I've got a hip issue, and I've never had a hip issue before. And so I'm trying to figure that out. And I'm dealing with the coof. So today I couldn't go, right? But tomorrow morning I'm going to end up doing Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. One, because I need to for my own health, but two, because my family needs it. Right. And I don't want to be, the biggest thing for me is I dread the day that I can't carry my youngest up the stairs to her bedroom, right? Whether it's because she's grown too big or I've grown too weak, right? One of those things is going to happen eventually. And I dread that day. But right now I'm still doing it because I go and I lift heavy every, other day, 3 days a week. And I walk the other day or two a week as well with some weight on my back. And I've got a driveway that's uphill half the way. So do hard things, get yourself out of your comfort zone, eat better, right? But just get physically active. Y'all ever watch any Grunt Proof? He's a guy on YouTube as well. He used to be a physical trainer as well. The thing he would start most people on who are not physically active is just get them to walk an hour every day for 30 days. Mm-hmm. Don't change anything about your diet. Don't change anything. Just walk an hour. Because one, that instills discipline that you're going to do it every day. Two, it's activity every day. But you won't even need to really change your diet either because you're introducing a lot more activity and you need that food to keep up your energy. And then after that, he starts introducing, weights and resistance training and diet and everything. Mm-hmm. You got to build up that discipline first of 30 days. And then after that, you can start getting into more depth.
Yeah, 100%. Rucking is a great way if you have bad knees, bad backs, things like that. If you want to just start off light, rucking is a great way of resistance training, getting steps in.
Yep.
It's absolutely fantastic.
All right. That is all I got. I'm out of notes. Did y'all have anything else y'all want to talk about? All right. Last thing I'm going to hit with. Join the Telegram. I'm going to be posting a competition tomorrow for the month of October. It's going to be a shooting competition. And I'll put the rules and everything into the competition. And just to give you all an idea of what it's going to be a Mozambique drill, reload Mozambique drill. Okay. Timed. The person with the best score at the end of the month in the Telegram chat, I will buy you a Avoiding Babylon t-shirt of your choice. Okay. This is to encourage you all to get out and train, to get to the range, and to compete against yourself and others, and give you an incentive to do it. Okay. So I'll post it tomorrow. Join the Telegram chat. Rob has the posted in the description or the comments or whatever.
I just put it in the live chat.
Yeah. So go to the live chat, get there. If you don't see it, if it gets lost in the comments somewhere, just DM me or Rob, and we'll send you the link to get into it. But the goal is to start building this community better and to make each other better and to start competing against each other. Because once you start beating other guys, you can start talking that crap, right? Starts making other guys want to be better so they can start talking that crap too. So join the Telegram and get involved. And I hope to see y'all there. But
Rick, you want
to for the night? Rick, hawk your stuff, Rick.
First thing, if you want to check it out, I have a book on Amazon called The Armed Catholic: The Catholic Case for Guns and Self-Defense. Check it out if you'd like. Secondly, if you like the stuff we're talking about here or my opinions on them, you can go check out my channel. It's Rickcast. The Rickcast, because some other loser took Rickcast before, so I had to be the Rickcast, but it's fine. We have the Council of St. Michael's every Wednesday. It's something very similar to this group. I've got three amazing guys, Joey O, Trad Rav, Operator, and Catholic Preppers Unite. We all get together and talk about this. Wednesday's show is going to be lawful self-defense and use of force, Catholic perspective on just war and moral duty. We're going to go through a bunch of different things: when to shoot, when to not shoot, legal consequences for it, ramifications, thinking about some of the topics we talked about it as well. So we do that every Wednesday night, and then I stream Monday through Friday, except for Wednesdays when I do the council, 6 p.m. Central Time, where I just kind of rant for an hour about stuff I don't like. So if you're into that kind of, it's really just that. I could try to make it sound a lot more but it's not. I don't want to give you guys a false sense of something that it's not. It's just me ranting. So all that stuff is great. If you're in the Texas area, especially Central Texas, I work at a gun range called Sendero Shooting Sports. I'm part of the team there. I do LTC classes. If you're interested in getting your license to carry in the state of Texas and you're in the Central Texas area, I run mostly the Saturday courses. Like I said, I'm certified to run AR-15 courses and stuff like that. If you're interested in those as well, just send me a message on X at Stradcath. And once again, big thank you to both Rob and Adrian for letting me crash tonight and hang out with you guys. It was a good time.
Yeah, thanks for coming, Rick. I don't have anything else. Usual Tuesday,
Hey,
Thursday.
I got a question, Rob. How much did that Annunciation Parish T-shirt end up raising?
Just over $1,000.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the final math on it this week and get the money sent to them.
I wore it to we have a flag football league at our parish, and I wore it a couple of weeks ago, and I sent a bunch of people over to go. I don't know if they did bought it or not.
I saw an influx a couple weeks after we were pushing it, so that that was probably that then.
Good.
Yeah. So thanks Rick for coming on. It was great having you. Adrian, thanks once again. And just to remind everyone, next week this will be on a separate channel than the normal Avoiding Babylon, and I'll get that sent out, and I'll probably share that on one of our shows later in the week. But thanks everyone.